Yo, what's up, guys? This is Andrew Callaghan from Channel 5 News. Check me out on the Bootleg Kev podcast.
All right, y'all, before we get into the episode, we got to do this. We just dropped these t-shirts to celebrate 500 episodes of the Bootleg Kev podcast. Yes, this is out. Little Daytona 500 vintage flip. All 500 episodes are on the back. Yes, you could do the gray, or you could just go black. The black is fire, too. So look, if you go right now, man, bootlegkev.com, and you cop yourself a 500 episode t-shirt, I'm going to throw in a pair of socks. We got the Bootleg Kev Odd Socks. You already know, the Bootleg Kev podcast sponsored by Odd Socks. So it's only right we throw in a pair of Odd Socks for every t-shirt sold. So, bootlegkev.com. Thank you, everybody, for supporting 500 episodes. Let's get into the next one right now. Come on.
Bootleg Kev podcast, man. We got a special guest in here. This guy just dropped a new movie, an amazing documentary. He's got one of my favorite YouTube channels. He's one of my favorite journalists in the world. My guy Andrew from Channel 5 has officially touched down, man.
Thank you for having me on, bro. I really appreciate it. I'm a big fan. It's been cool seeing you grow your platform the past couple years. So shout out to Bootleg Kev. Shout out to Phoenix, too.
Yes, sir. It's crazy because I want to say I first kind of found you. It was probably like 2019. It was when you interviewed the Joker guy in Florida.
Yeah, I made my first videos like in the winter of 2018, and 2019 was like the beginning of All Gas No Break. So I think my first Joker gang interview was in the September of 2019 in Gulfport, Florida.
Yeah, because I used to live in Tampa, right? So I actually lived in St. Pete. So I remember seeing that guy go viral when I was living there, and like it was funny to kind of like see the Florida man.
Yeah.
Little talk.
You know what was crazy is so I went to Miami to find him. Like I went to Miami first, and I was like, yo, I happen to be in Miami because I didn't want to freak him out and be like, I'm coming to find you.
Right.
So I went to Miami. I was like, yo, what up, Joker 305, Ross Chico alive? I'm in this bitch. And he was like, bro, I'm in St. Pete. And I was like, what? How'd that happen?
Yeah.
So I drove through the Everglades in like the middle of the night.
For sure. People don't know that's a wild drive.
Alligator Alley.
Yes.
So I get to St. Pete. I go to the south side of town. And I'm like, yo, I'm actually here too. You know, just happened to be here. And he was like, for real? Met him at the liquor store. Busted the interview outside.
South side of St. Pete is serious.
Yeah.
Serious area, for sure. So I mean, obviously you've been leveling up for a long time, man. I want to talk about the movie real quick because it was an emotional watch. It was kind of crazy because we I think you did such a good job, and you do such a good job of like whatever side of politics you might be on, like humanizing everybody.
Yeah.
Whether it's protesters, whether it's people who are coming over. I mean, I subscribe to your. Is it a Patreon?
Yeah, Patreon.
Yeah, because I know there's Patreon and locals. I subscribe to the pedophile beaters on the locals, the guys who beat up. The
those guys don't play.
Yeah, they don't play. But no, so I watched your entire episodes at the border. But you're so good at like just providing context and nuance to all these divisive issues.
Yeah.
Which, if you just consume like surface level media, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And so with this Kelly guy, for people who don't know, you were filming this guy for over 4 years.
Yeah.
Without giving away too much of the movie, you kind of dive into this guy named Kelly, who was a successful lawyer.
Yeah.
Had a family. Ended up losing his house. Blames it on a guy.
Yeah. He blames it on a lender named Bill Joyner.
Yeah. And
Bill.
And his whole entire like life just spirals into this like weird like MAGA sphere.
Yeah.
Like the craziest of the crazy, like hanging out outside of abortion clinics. That's how the movie starts.
Going hard.
And then it kind of you end up getting close with his kids.
Very close, yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Like for you, man, like at what point in time when you were filmed, because you also put out the HBO documentary, but at what point in time when you were kind of following Kelly, did you decide like, okay, we actually got to put all this together and do like a real movie and tell his story?
I mean, I think just like there was over 350 hours of footage. So the first time that I met him was at the White Lives Matter rally in Huntington Beach in 2021. And the last shoot was with Uncle Pill at a skate park in Oceanside, California, 3.5 weeks ago.
Right.
So we had a cumulative like 350 hours of total footage. And I just looked at it all in total and I was like, bro, we got to do something with this. And it was so...
When Kelly was at that that was the America Festival that just happened in Phoenix, huh?
It happens every like Christmas in Phoenix.
But that was the one that just happened.
No. That was filmed at the America Fest 1 year before.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure how soon how close it was because I was like, I thought that thing just happened.
No. It was 2023, I think.
Yeah. So that all those years, you end up wrapping it up 3.5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And you know, I know you had kind of articulated like you wanted to kind of dive into the why.
Yeah.
Because we have seen so many people who we deem to be like normal be radicalized on both sides of the aisle.
Definitely.
And there's a why.
Yeah.
You know, and for you, like, what were some of the correlations that you kind of realized were consistent with?
Well, like I noticed that even back in the day, like the first, I guess, conspiracy adjacent rallies I'd go to, like the Flat Earth Conference in Dallas, like I would post somebody like a flat earther talking about, you know, Hitler having a secret city in Antarctica and
Right.
hiding the flat earth truth, that type of thing. And the comments would be like, yo, this was my science teacher. He got fired for like, you know, flashing students or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Or like, this is my cousin, like he got laid off after he got hurt at work and he's never been the same. And so I noticed this like common thread of people having a full-blown collapse of their core needs, like security, significance, and connection, all collapsing. And then they develop this like super negative worldview that's very binary as far as like, I'm a good person, and there's this like nebulous evil force that's out there, like this dark cloud that's above every hardworking, red-blooded American patriot. It's just trying to sap all the life force out of us.
Right.
And a political movement comes around, kind of picks up on that angst and gives them a way to channel their personal situation into a greater spiritual war in the country.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy too, because it really makes sense because it gives you, you know, it's so easy to not have accountability.
Yeah.
And I think what was dope about the movie is by the end of the movie, it seems like this guy ended up taking some accountability.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Without spoiling the whole shit, like a lot of people watch the movie and they see the ending and they're disappointed. But I'm like, dude, if you look at the very beginning to the end of the movie, that's a different guy.
For sure.
He's probably not doing like the TLC intervention 90 days later thing where
Right.
they're like, oh my God, I'm healed. But he's significantly less angry. He's let aside some personal resentments. But yeah, you're right, bro. Like, it's way easier to live in your own self-mythology and have a heroic narrative about your own life, as opposed to acknowledging like different shortcomings and saying, you know what, I'm going to do this better in the future and keep pushing.
And like the other thing too is like, you know, it's if there is like a thread of like validity to an issue, and not even necessarily a thread, because I think with the immigration issue, obviously the border was out of control.
Yeah.
You know, this is a fact. But it also gives a lot of people who are in situations in their lives to point the finger at somebody. Like, I have the villain in my story as to why I might not be doing better. Is it because of immigrants? Is it because of, you know, X, Y, Z? And this is on both sides, you know? But it's like very, very, you know, to me, what I've realized is a lot of these folks who are like radicalized, they're really radicalized because they need a villain. Yeah. And they need a purpose. Like, look, it's kind of like being a Crip or a Blood. You know what I mean?
Like, and what's crazy about it is like when you look at these conservative events, especially like in the MAGA sphere, you could have like a Bitcoin libertarian who drinks ayahuasca and smokes weed 5 times a day sitting next to somebody who is a
QAnon psycho
or pro-life evangelical Christian who like actually believes that marijuana was created by the devil to make white women have interracial children.
Yeah, like it's like the Venn diagram of people that go is insane.
And they're like, oh, we both fuck with Trump? It's all good. Whereas on the other side, the liberal side, you can't even have a group of 5 without them tearing each other down for dumb shit.
Yeah, and like, you know, I'm an old school liberal. Like, I voted for Bernie. I'm you know, I guess I would be as, you know, I'm pretty aligned with Bernie Sanders on mostly everything. I think,
same here.
I think he got fucked over. I mean, I know he got.
And
fucked over.
And we're paying for that now.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But like you said, you know, it's frustrating because I think over the last, I would say since COVID, right? Like, you're really not allowed to step out of line as a liberal on any issue whatsoever. Like, I'm super pro trans rights, super pro trans rights. I think it's fucked up that Trump just banned them from the military. I also think it's like a serious conversation to say like, hey, when it comes to sports, like that's a conversation like combat sports.
Yeah, for
we
sure.
should have, like, it doesn't make sense. Not to say that it's like maybe there's a trans fighting league. I don't know. That'd
be the best league. I'd go all the time.
Is like if you just step out a little bit, it's like you get fucking thrown. Like, I mean, dude, I remember during the pandemic, I mean, I was spooked, man. I was masked up.
The whole time?
For like the first 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
Maybe even the first 3 months. But I was wearing gloves and shit at the gas station. But I remember like, Joe Rogan had this doctor named not the guy who looks like Kenny Rogers, Andrew something. But he was like one of the guys who he was like the most published cardiovascular doctor of all time. And they were just talking about like, you know, the vaccine and like all these alternative things. And I remember just bringing up like, not even like knowing for sure. I just remember bringing some shit up in front of my cousin. And he was like, "Are you fucking MAGA now, bro?"
Oh, shit.
And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Of course not. Like, what are we talking about? And it was like this thing where like you couldn't even like question what was going on with like some of the like alternative like treatments that were available for COVID, or even just like the lab leak theory. And it just, I feel like COVID, like we were already super divided from like 2016 on.
Yeah.
QAnon was cracking, like all this crazy shit was happening. But I feel like between like COVID and, you know, the BLM, you know, George Floyd riots, like it just, I feel like we all just got thrown into a blender.
Yeah. I feel like also the social policing that COVID created, especially in more liberal spaces, made it so conservatives became the new counterculture. Like I remember before George Floyd popped off in May, there was those 2 months where the only thing that I was covering was freedom rallies. So like
I remember watching you go to Sturgis.
Yeah, Sturgis was sick. I went to a Sacramento Capitol. They had, this is before the vaccine, so it was just called a freedom rally. It was like an anti-lockdown protest. And dude, like conservatives were uniting as like, we're going against the government. Like we're not going to take it. And before then, the conservatives were like all about the government narrative.
And it's funny because when you, I mean, obviously I don't know how old you are, but it's like, I feel like prior to COVID, like liberals were supposed to be like anti-government.
Yeah. And now they're
anti-war.
And they were supporting the censorship of like everybody on social media. And now you see what that did. It just pushed everybody into tighter echo chambers. And now look, Trump's in office.
It did. And then it pushed everybody because like you said, if the counterculture to something that makes no sense is just the right.
Yeah.
And because I've noticed so many people who I know who supported Bernie Sanders. I mean, people who donate money to Bernie Sanders vote for Trump.
Yeah.
Like there's like this weird, like who would have thought like that would ever be a thing? Yeah. But it's like, well, if the option is, you know, people kind of pick their poison.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that? Like
definitely. I mean, especially if you think about it now, it's crazy to me that Trump ran on this platform of like eliminating the deep state bureaucracy. So like the DNC and CNN and the media, but now he has like a private army of tech oligarchs as his advisors. So it's so crazy. But going back to a point that I wanted to make too, a lot of people watch Dear Kelly and they say, yo, why don't you make a movie about the liberal equivalent of Kelly? And I just want to say that does exist, but I don't think that like radical, hardcore liberalism is created by need collapse. I think it's actually created by an oversaturation of core needs. Like people who have everything that they need and they're doing guilty. So well they feel bad, especially if they participate in gentrification and they're pushing people out of neighborhoods like Brooklyn, like
they're like, I feel bad. My white guilt is it's just I have to do something.
It's paralyzing for them. And so I think most like extreme libs that I've seen, they come from more conservative families. They come from the suburbs. They moved to this city. I grew up in this city, so I didn't grow up around any like hardcore liberals, but there's a correlation. The most gentrified neighborhoods in America is where you see the most hardcore liberals.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's funny too because you know I do a radio show. My co-host is James Jefferson, who's a big TikTok personality, black guy. But he always says, he's like, yo man, like most of the time there's like someone like super pissed off or like triggered by something in the news that isn't that big of a deal. It's always like a white woman.
Always.
It's always a white lady.
During COVID, during the protest movement, I came into contact with a group in Portland, Oregon called the White Body Shields. And what they would do is they would go in bulletproof armor to black neighborhoods and they would approach older black women usually and say, hey, do you need me to walk you to the bus stop? Do you need me to walk you to the grocery store? Just in case a policeman tries to kill you, I want to make sure that I can be a physical barrier and take those bullets for you. And people would be like, no, what the fuck? Get away from me. But they'd be like, you don't understand. This is a divisive time and you're being hunted down in the streets.
You know, it's funny too, because I saw this video and obviously it was on Twitter, but it was like, you know, there's this overall discussion about like voter ID. And it seems like most of the people who are against voter ID are like liberal white people. And they go through the hood and they ask people like, hey, do you got an ID? And they're like, yeah, what the fuck? Like,
they're like, are you sure?
Are you sure? And it's because it's like the argument is like, well, you know, there's certain minority communities where it's almost impossible for them to have an ID. And it's like, it's almost like that Democratic lady who said something about the kids in the Bronx, like they'd never seen a computer before.
Oh yeah, they don't even know what computers are.
And it's like, lady, these kids they have an iPhone.
Yeah, they're
like,
better at computers than me.
you.
They're 17.
Yeah, like they know how to fucking they know CapCut better than all of us.
Yeah, man. The kids of today are crazy, bro. I had a cousin, my little cousin. He wakes up on Christmas morning before opening his own presents to watch his favorite streamer unbox their gifts, and he's more stoked about like what they're gonna get. He's like in the chat being like L gift, W gift. So by the time his parents are like, Santa came, he's like, I don't give a fuck. I said that got an Xbox.
I saw what Kai got. Yeah. Fuck your socks, mom.
Yeah.
That shit's funny,
So
man.
the point is, the kids from the Bronx to the Hamptons, they know about the phone and the computer.
They know computers, yeah. No, it's interesting too, man, because I think with the movie, like, you know, for me, it was just like showing like how his daughter, because he has a lesbian daughter, right? Kelly has a lesbian daughter, and just showing how like, by the way, his kid's a badass. His son is outside.
Kyle's outside.
Yeah, he's fucking.
Oh, you talking about his party?
Yeah, I was like, this guy's lit.
It was a tight party.
But it was just dope to kind of see the perspective of like how you know, like kids are affected, and the fact like he showed up to a protest with his dad, I thought was like the nicest thing.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
Hey, dude, this is what he's into, so I'm just gonna show up. Like, I don't know, you know, like.
Yeah, that scene definitely was emotionally impactful for me because I'm like, wow, the lengths that he'll go to connect with his pops, and I think that a lot of people can relate to that.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure, man. Bill Joyner is suing you.
Yeah.
For people like he's the boogeyman of this film, and allegedly, he's the. And then, like, to be fair, you did not paint him as the boogeyman.
That's what I think, and I tried to tell him that. I tried to tell him.
You kind of showed the world that, hey, this guy didn't really do anything wrong.
Yeah. Well, the lawsuit was filed before the film even came out.
So you're kind of hoping he's seen the movie, maybe eases up a little.
Well, I think that him and his lawyer, from what I can see by the court filings, they think that we are like, you know, that we're on Kelly's like exact team, and then we're corroborating his narrative about the home foreclosure.
Right.
But in reality,
which is not the case.
No. So the actual lawsuit says violation of the Federal Wiretap Act. Like, he thought we were tapping his phone lines. It says stalking, emotional distress. Like, we weren't stalking him or anything.
Right.
Or, I mean, emotional distress. I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, no. So are you worried about the lawsuit at all?
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, thankfully, like, we filed an anti-slap motion. It's like some thing basically where if someone sues you for defamation or whatever, you can do an anti-slap motion, which is like SLAPP. Basically means like it's within my rights as a documentary filmmaker to share someone's perspective, even if you disagree with it.
And you knew that this lawsuit was already kind of in motion and still decided to release the movie.
Yeah, because the judge dismissed what's called oral argument. So that's like when they expect both attorneys to show up and make their case, and is deliberating for like a 180-day period or something.
Right.
So what that tells me is that the judge has kind of made up her mind to the point that she didn't even want to hear from my lawyer or Bill's lawyer.
That makes sense.
So I won't know if she's Team Bill or Team Channel 5 for like at least 90 days.
Damn, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Thanks. I mean, it's going to be fine. Like, I think
too, like, I think this movie, like, because I know you had opened the movie kind of explaining, like, hey, you know, because I thought the HBO documentary was amazing.
Thank you.
But it was crazy to see, like even like then, like, you had to kind of like, you know, you're playing by the rules a bit when you're doing something with a big partner like that. Mm-hmm. And so this was like straight to the.
Yeah. I mean, I finished the movie, Dear Kelly, one day before it came out. Like, I did a final color and sound pass and put the right songs on, like, literally the day before it came out.
That shit's crazy.
In comparison, the HBO film was picture locked, so finished without color and audio, 9 months before the release date.
Damn. Do you feel like this is kind of the new way because I mean, you're doing well, right? Yeah. It sold a lot, you know. I saw some. I think, you know, it broke some record. I think
we got 100,000 in sales in the first weekend,
which is amazing.
Which is like a record since Coney 2012 for a direct to consumer streamed video.
Do you feel like that? Because at the end of the day, you put so much work into like some of these videos you do, which is why I think it's important to support the Patreon.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
Because you put a ton of work, bro. Like, this is like real journalism. Like, like people will see shit on the news. You're actually like going to wherever it's happening and finding out what is going on
in the field. And we really have no bosses. A lot of people, they masquerade as being independent, you know what I mean? Because you see them on the street with the, you know, but they
like, I'm with Vice, I'm independent journalism.
Right, which, you know what I mean? Like, we're actually like not beholden to anybody, which is why they don't like us.
By the way, thank you for not like doing like cringy, weird shit like Vice used to do, where like I did heroin for 30 days straight, and this is what happened.
You know what's crazy though, bro, is that Vice, when I was a youngster, I'm 27.
Oh, back in the day, it was amazing.
So sick. So I always say when people talk shit about Vice, I'm like, yes, Vice makes some pretty ass shit nowadays. However,
it used to be the shit.
Back
like when they would go to the Congo and
dude, General Butt Naked. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Or even the David Cho series, Thumbs Up America. Like without that series, I probably wouldn't have hitchhiked across the U.S. I probably wouldn't have made videos. I probably wouldn't have been here.
That shit's crazy.
They made journalism cool again.
Yeah.
Before Vice, I don't think there was anybody actually pushing the envelope, except for like Louis Theroux in the UK with BBC. But like journalism wasn't like badass until Vice.
Do you care about like being accepted? Like, you know, there's so many people who are quote unquote journalists that are mainstream. Do you care about their acceptance or like being seen as like a peer of them?
No, I don't like journalists like that.
Yeah.
I just don't think, I don't want to be accepted by journalism or, you know, they already don't fuck with me.
Right.
They never fucked with me.
Right.
They're never going to. So even if I wanted to say, yeah, I would love to, you know, have a bunch of friends at the Associated Press and sit down with some MSNBC pundits, like, you think they would fuck with me? No. But that's because we're outsiders.
Trump's press secretary this morning, we just saw it before you walked in actually, said that the White House press credentials are open to anyone who has a YouTube channel, TikTok account, a Twitter account that has a following and that does news-based content.
Wow, I should apply.
No, they just posted the website today.
Oh, shit, yeah, we should apply.
So I think you should apply, because I think you could ask some questions in there.
Yeah, some actually good questions. And I also feel like at the same time, though, that could be bad if they reject people based upon, like, the press. If they pack the room with just right-wing influencers.
Right, if it's just like fucking Charlie Kirk and, you know, whoever the
just
fuck.
Glazers.
Just Glazers. Jesus. It is crazy, too, though, because it's almost like the extreme left getting so wild has kind of like commercialized so many of these guys on the right.
Yeah.
To the point where it's like, you know, if you think about like Charlie Kirk or you know, like my kids, like my son's a mixed kid. He's fucking 11 years old and he's seeing the kids that dude's TikToks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's almost like, do you feel like because you know, I had this conversation with a friend of mine and I was like, there's always like a pendulum like swinging, right? It was like, yo, there wasn't anything Trump could have done in 2020 to win. Like they could have ran anybody against him and he would have lost.
Oh, totally.
And I feel the same way about, like, I don't think there was probably now again, there's the Bernie card, but they would never play that Bernie card because he doesn't, you know. But or like someone in that same vein that speaks to working class Americans, like honestly. But I feel like this Trump thing, it was just like a very predictable. Like you could feel the pendulum swinging.
Yeah.
Like in real, I was like, yo, like I just don't see.
Yeah, I think it's because so many young dudes like shifted right because of these like progressive new standards, especially on college campuses with like this hardcore identity politics banging, where like that's more important than class. Like those issues, like it doesn't matter what your idea is, if as long as you are like a certain position on the privilege hierarchy, you shouldn't be able to say anything. And I get the point. What they're trying to do is like give people who are marginalized like a chance to speak. But what that does to somebody who might be like a young white dude with a good idea is he's like, you know what? I'm well-intentioned and I'm being basically exiled for speaking my mind because of how I look. I'm going to go to Turning Point USA where they're going to give me exactly what I want, you know? And so unfortunately, a lot of the progressive new standards have alienated a ton of young people, especially dudes.
Yeah, I've noticed that. It's like a lot of like young dudes, man, are just like, you know, and Trump went to all their platforms.
Yeah, definitely. You know,
and like to me, like if Kamala would have just like the one thing about Kamala that I just could not wrap my head around is whoever was running her campaign, they just refused to put her in uncomfortable situations where she had to talk off the script.
Yeah,
and it would be like, man, if I could have just seen like this was a human being for like an hour, like a human.
Hey, the one thing that she did that did have some good impact is the restaurant Huarachi's in Phoenix.
Yeah.
So my homie Renee is the chef there.
Okay.
She went 3 days before Election Day to Phoenix and had like a Sonoran
I remember that.
Some type of food like that.
Yeah, I just like I was just waiting for her to like, you know, when she did like Club Shay Shay, I was like, oh, like even if she would have did like, you know, even the Breakfast Club thing, like I wish she would have did a one-on-one with Charlamagne and not like a
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that. They're just so tapped out. But I'm saying it's karmic retribution for them kind of like kicking Bernie Sanders out the picture. Because Bernie would have talked to the youth. Bernie would have gone on he actually did. He went on Theo Von. He went on like Joe Rogan back in the day. All these platforms where Trump was able to speak directly to the youth and stuff. Or not even just the youth, but just like ages, 18 to 40.
And the other thing too is like, I think if you're a Democrat and you're watching the last week of Trump in office, however you feel about whatever he's doing, it like shows you how ineffective our politicians are.
So bad, dude.
Like, yo, if this guy can come in and make a fucking spectacle out of signing these executive orders, whether or not they stick or not, like, the birthright shit, like that's a Supreme Court issue.
Yeah.
But it's like performative for his base.
Yeah.
Like, dude, if you're fucking Joe Biden on day one, you sign the executive order for the George Floyd Police Act. You sign an executive order to try to you just do some shit to make us feel a little better.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like everything is so hard with a Democrat, but it's like this motherfucker's out here turning shit up, dog.
Yeah, and bro, honestly, like if you think about it, I see why people view Trump as like a underdog counterculture icon.
For sure.
They deployed every single thing they could in the media to take him down for years.
And the law and the law system.
Dude, the law system, every late night TV show became like a Trump mockery platform. Jimmy Kimmel,
rough,
Stephen Colbert, they literally threw their entire integrity out the window and became DNC mouthpieces fucking years.
I can't even watch it because I've fully, because I grew up a Democrat. My parents are Democrat. My grandma's a Democrat. Fucking, I am a fucking. When I registered in California, because I moved from AZ to Cali.
Yeah.
Registered as an independent. I don't want no part on either side, bro. Fuck both sides, bro. Like,
and the crazy gaslighting is like, if you don't vote for Kamala, you're voting for Trump. It's like, oh, whatever, bro.
This is what I told everybody because I was an RFK guy during, because I liked a lot of his ideas about food and censorship, and I hated his stance with the Israel stance, but I was like, yo. When I was talking to my friends, I'm like, they're like, no, but it's a wasted vote. And I'm like, dude, this is the brainwashing over hundreds of years that has been programmed into us that will never allow us to have another alternative.
Yeah.
Because that there's a third party candidate that is much better than either being offered, but because you think you're throwing, it's your vote.
Yeah.
You own your vote.
Definitely.
Like vote with your conscience.
That's
like
why,
if to me, like I knew like I'm like, yo, like if you feel any type of way about Palestine, like vote for Jill Stein and know you voted with your heart and your conscience and neither side deserved your vote.
Dude, honestly, if Kamala Harris would have said, like, I'm pro-Palestine, or at least I support a two-state solution, she would have won the election.
She fucking rolled Bill Clinton out in Michigan to chastise fucking Muslim Americans to their fucking face.
Yeah.
It was the craziest shit.
And campaigned with Liz Cheney. I'm like, who the fuck is this for?
It's exactly.
Can you imagine being on the fence and being like, oh shit, well, Dick Cheney's wife fucks with Kamala Harris?
And to me, that's where they just lost me dude the last couple of years, where I'm just like, so we're like legit the war party now.
Yeah. But honestly, dude, if you think about it, this, in the long run, 2028 is going to be a great year because we're going to have fresh primaries on both sides. The Democratic Party is totally done. They're never going to rematerialize. You're going to have new progressive candidates.
Maybe.
New conservative candidates.
You're right,
oh, they're done.
I don't know. I think that they're so ignorant on the left. I mean, I don't know, man.
At least we're going to get new people.
I hope so.
We are going to get new people.
No, I hope that they find whoever that is.
We're going to get new conservatives and new progressives. Like 2028 is going to be that year.
I think it's going to end up being J.D. Vance and Vivek.
Oh, God.
I think that'll be the...
Yeah, we need new dynasties. No. Like, bro, Biden was Obama's vice president. Does nobody think that's fucking weird? Right. That's insane. Yeah. Hillary Clinton is Bill Clinton's wife.
It's just
Donald Trump was on The Apprentice. Like, all these fools are already entrenched. Like, when can we get a Bernie Sanders? Vermont will rise again.
Oh man, yeah. No, I don't even know who the new Bernie is. Honestly, that has like actual power. Like, I mean, I guess AOC, but she kind of sold out a lot of her. A lot of her free will for. I would say AOC was the most disappointing the last couple of years because she kind of like chose up with Pelosi a couple of times. I was like, Anyway, you have done so many crazy, like you've literally been in the shits. Yeah. Whatever issue that's arisen in pop culture in the news, you're front lines on. Is there a a situation in which you were the most scared for your safety?
That's the thing, bro. I don't think so. It's weird. Like, I get scared when I watch the footage after. Like, when I was at the Stash House in Philadelphia with the dudes who were manufacturing.
Fucking insane. That was also one I insane.
In the moment, I'm not scared because I'm so like focused on getting the video and like
those guys were
being there.
manufacturing Trank.
Trank, which is a combination of xylazine, which is horse tranquilizer, and fentanyl. So basically, it makes it so like Trank is really cheap, and it also makes it's a tranquilizer. So you can have a bag of fentanyl that's like 1/4 fent, 3/4 Trank, and it's gonna hit basically the same. Just have a little bit more of like a tranquilizing effect. So you can make a bunch of money, and xylazine is maybe 100 times cheaper than fentanyl, and you can buy it legally from Chinese manufacturers, like in powder form on WhatsApp. Anyways, I don't want to give too much game. Don't manufacture a Trank if you're watching this. But anyways, I watched the footage back, and I was like, bro, what the fuck was I doing?
Yeah,
or hopping the border. I'm not scared in the moment, but then I'm looking back at the footage, and I think, damn, like I should have been scared.
Right.
You know, but it's moments like that where I need to realize that I am relatively fearless, but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't do dumb shit.
Right. Yeah, no, that was a wild episode. It's funny because actually, you know, that hit close to home recently. My son's mom passed away in Philadelphia from an overdose.
Damn, rest in peace, man.
Yeah. But I mean, it was fentanyl for sure.
Yeah.
But that Trank shit, it hasn't hit LA yet.
No. It's pretty crazy that it hasn't because it's hit Baltimore. It hasn't hit Atlanta. It's Baltimore, D.C., and Boston.
Yeah, it's like people's like limbs get swollen up. And
yeah, so if you miss a vein with Trank, like this condition can happen called necrotizing fasciitis, which is a flesh-eating bacterial disease or something like that. So it literally consumes your limbs. And if you don't treat it within the first 4 to 5 days, amputation is the only option, or it can spread to your heart and you get sepsis and you really can't survive that.
No,
so
crazy.
there's the problem that many groups in Philadelphia have, the harm reduction communities, where they're like, yo, how do we get these people off the streets and into the hospital immediately? And they're withdrawing from dope. So like it's just really difficult because you can't kidnap people.
Right.
You have to ask them to go to treatment.
Yeah, that Kensington area is so crazy.
But it's tough because if you go to somebody whose arm is falling off and you say like, bro, you have to go to the hospital, and they say no, they're adult free human beings. 100%. You can't make somebody do something.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. You went into the CHAZ area too, right?
Yeah, so I'm from Capitol Hill, Seattle.
I was about to say that's where you're from, is Seattle.
Okay, so I grew up in Philly, in Fairmount, in North Philly, till I was 10. My dad was a big grunge fan, and he worked in the tech industry. So we moved out to Seattle.
Where else would he live?
Yeah,
besides Seattle.
We moved to Capitol Hill.
Okay.
And that's like where CHAZ was. So that corner, 10th and Pike, Cal Anderson Park, I grew up like in that neighborhood.
That's your area.
So I'm in Minneapolis, right, where the actual riots popped off, like by Lake Street on the south side, and I get a call, and someone says, "Yo, the cops just ran out of the precinct. They abandoned the precinct in Capitol Hill. You know, the cops just gave it to the protesters." I was like, "What?" And so there was a 4-block radius, initially called the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, and then became Capitol Hill Organized Protest. And I was actually there basically the entire time, living in a tent. However, the footage was never released.
Why not?
Because, bro, it was embarrassing. On some hometown shit, it was embarrassing.
It was bad.
Okay, so there was 3 phases. Phase 1 was like spirit of the revolution, like Fidel Castro, like the people will rise up. Phase 2 was like Burning Man. You have fools coming in on Greyhound buses from Northern California
tripping balls.
and Eugene. I call it the Republic of Islam. That's Southern Oregon, Northern California, where they're still slapping Max Dre like they just found out about it.
Taking ecstasy.
Yeah, so people are pulling up like, ooh. So fools are pulling up, like you have drum circles. People are setting up stages. They're doing dubstep sets. You know what I mean? And then the initials, Viva la Revolucion crowd is like, what the fuck? Fuck these wooks. They start beefing it. And then so they start kind of canceling each other for different shit.
Meanwhile, people are living there. Like they have their apartment right there.
And then week 3, the trappers, the hoods in Seattle, like in the South End and Tacoma, start figuring out that the cops aren't coming there. So they have all their fiends go from downtown and different areas to Capitol Hill, and then different gangs start taking control of different parts of the park. So it was Revolution Week, Wook Week, and then Gang Week. I'm there the whole time. My tent keeps getting stolen. And then so literally you had, bro, I'd never seen some shit like this in Seattle. By the basketball courts, kids, 15-year-old kids with shiesties and guns fucking bigger than their entire bodies. And this is a safe urban park in a gay neighborhood.
Right.
So I'm like, bro, this is insane. And so what happened, I literally remember there was a fatal shooting on the 4th of July. I was like right next to it. I thought it was fireworks because it was 4th of July.
Yeah.
Someone got killed right there. And this Antifa medic chick, like in full costume, comes running up and she goes, "There's a gang war happening at the park." And I'm like, I literally look at her, I go, what gangs are fighting. Just say the name of one of the gangs. Since you're from Seattle, what are the gangs called? And she's like, I don't know. And so the moment after the fatal shooting happened, the next morning, all of the medics and all of the organizers and all of the wooks and all the revolutionaries, they leave. And the park just becomes like Amsterdam in The Wire. And then the cops at that point come in and shut it down.
Wow.
So I filmed the whole thing. I still have the footage. I'm thinking about putting it out.
Dude, honestly, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, it was crazy, but I was like, you know, it was just a real like, God, Seattle took the L on that one.
You know what's so crazy is I feel like on like when we think about like, I think people who are extreme left and Antifa and all these people, and on the other side, the QAnon folks, I feel like everyone has they feel like they're doing the right thing. Like they have
Everybody does.
They have like good intention in their heart.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like there just has to be like, you know, I don't know what it is. I think there just has to be like if everyone feels like they're doing the right thing, right? Like, you know, the White Lives Matter rally that opens up your film, it didn't feel like much of a rally, but, you know, your boy was out there with his flags. And then they ended up fucking him up.
Yeah, they fucked his ass up, bro.
He ends up getting arrested. Yeah. and do you feel like there's, like, just the option for, like, I guess, like, positive discourse where people can just agree to disagree? Do you just think that shit's out the window, man?
You know, the thing is, though, is like these groups, these vocal minorities get a lot of visibility because they make noise. But I think that a good like 70% of the country is on the same page as you and I. You know, they see the shit from afar. They might react to a certain thing a certain way or slant, but most people are not Antifa or QAnon.
Right.
The difference is I feel like QAnon ideology has bled its way into the mainstream conservative right, whereas Antifa and these groups are still like a very marginalized left,
Yes,
and liberals reject their ideas.
For sure.
So I just think that like the actual left that Trump always talks about has no actual power over the liberals. Liberals don't give a fuck about unions. You know, they're more concerned with like calling Trump supporters Nazis and white supremacists and throwing labels on people. So there is going to be a point where we can have discourse, but like I said, 2028's that year.
You know, there's just this, like you said, it's on the left, dude. Because I feel like I have conversations with like my cousin.
Yeah.
Like this is another thing. I stopped talking to I was a part of this, like the left that stopped talking to people over Trump in 2016.
That was a real thing.
My cousin James, who's like my closest cousin in my life, voted for Trump, was vocal about it on Facebook, and I just stopped talking to him for like 2 years.
You guys are good now, though, right?
Yeah.
See, America is healing.
No, but I felt terrible about it.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, dude, I was fucking tripping, bro. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
Bro, like, I was one of the guys shaming people for not getting... I shamed this motherfucker for not getting vaccinated. Every fucking time we'd go, I'd be like, you're a spreader. Yeah, bro, that was me. And I just realized, like, dog, like, I'm a part of the side that's the most judgmental.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because the other side's supposed to be Nazis.
Yeah. I remember back in the day when COVID first popped off in Seattle, you could be getting you could be having a picnic in a park, just you and two people. If you spread a blanket out and somebody took their mask off for a second, you'd have somebody in the cut with an N95 on like this. They'd take a picture of you, they'll put it online, find your at, they're like, what's this person's at? Super spreader, complicit in the genocide of those who are disabled, and complicit in the genocide of the immune compromised, and they would lose their job, they would lose everything. I saw this shit happening in real time, dog.
So sad, dude.
Bro, I remember when COVID popped off, I told you I was in Seattle,
Yeah.
and I was like, I gotta go somewhere more hippied out, because I'm like, I gotta see somebody. So
Yeah.
I went down to Eureka, California, and I stayed with my homegirl, and she told me, she was like, listen, I don't care about this COVID shit, or I do care, but if I see you in public with somebody, and they take a picture of you, or they see you with somebody else, I'm gonna get in trouble. Okay, what do you mean trouble? She was like, I could lose my job.
It was the same thing in Australia, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, people were, like, going to jail. Like,
Yeah.
That's my thing is, like, you know, I just feel like I just feel like we stopped questioning shit for a while there, where it was like, hey, like, is it a little weird that there's a ticker on the screen on CNN with the death total going up like it's a fucking basketball game?
Yeah.
Like, what is, like, And everybody was like, fuck. And I'm over here buying gloves and shit. And fucking, I got so much sanitizer left over from COVID. It's crazy in my garage. I'm like, yo, we gotta have more sand.
Yeah, I was sort of tweaked out too, you know? It was just a crazy time, and I feel like we're still kind of living in the shadow of 2020.
For sure. And then now you look back and you're like, okay, well, you know I dealt with this because I had two sons who, you know, my kid was 14 and was like dealing with depression because he was just stuck at home. And the people who lost their businesses, especially here in California, you know, there's like restaurants that were losing their businesses while there was like catering on movie sets and shit. And it was like make it make sense, you know? Like
and Walmart was open though, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Dispensaries were open.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, dispensaries were open. They never closed down dispensaries here, which was interesting. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just feel like, you know, like you said, man, like this is what we get. We get Trump again.
Yeah. Oh,
like,
definitely.
Like all that crazy shit. This is what you get.
We earned this shit.
We earned it. We fucking earned it, man. Do you feel like there was a point in time for you where, you know, you as a young journalist, like, was it always kind of the idea to kind of tell both sides? Because obviously, like you said, you're like more of a Bernie guy, so
big time.
You have like your set of values, but to be able to kind of cover like people who you harshly disagree with, and show them, give them like a fair shake.
Definitely.
Was that difficult for you?
No, I've always been like that because, you know, I grew up, like I said, in the city, always around different kinds of people, exposed to different personalities. I also went to school in the Deep South in New Orleans, so it was like I got exposed to a ton of Southern stuff. So by the time I started my career, I was like, I want to show people on the West Coast what it's like in the South. I want to show people in the South what it's like where I'm from in Seattle. So I already felt like I had two different upbringings. But as far as like the unbiased thing, like I'm not unbiased. No human being is unbiased.
No, for sure. But I feel like you do a really good job of trying to like tell the story as much down the middle as you can. And
definitely.
I just feel like that's something that is very like...
Yeah, well, I definitely appreciate it. I just wanted to make that point because there's so many journalists claiming to be unbiased, but I'm like, everybody has biases based upon how they grew up.
On the planet has a personal bias.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, shit, I used the example the other day, like, whenever the George Floyd thing happened, like, I had lost a couple friends growing up to police brutality. So as soon as that happened, I was sort of on board with, like, whatever had to happen. I saw buildings going up in flames, and I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, me too.
But if I grew up in, you know, Iowa, and my dad was the police chief in a town of 500 people, and he was rescuing cats from trees and helping people, you know, I might be like, come on, man, that's just one bad egg. But I didn't see it that way because of how I grew up, you know?
What is your perspective on those protests and riots, you know, what would it be, 5 years later now? Like almost 5 years, 4.5 years later? I feel like, you know, Black Lives Matter as a statement is obviously a factual statement. I feel like that the intent of that movement was pure and had great intentions, but somehow it got twisted and used against...
Well, I mean, if you look at every social movement that begins organically, there is people out there, grifters and profiteers, who will figure out a way to make an industry out of it. And the same thing happens with every social movement in America. It takes about 2 years, maybe 3 years, for, you know, Black Lives Matter LLC to become a donation farm to where people are just like embezzling and hoarding
mansions.
Money. That's what happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's more like, I feel like shame on somebody for not realizing that. Like, why are you giving money to Black Lives Matter 2.5 years later? I thought the protests were great. I think that they began very straightforward and organic. Like, this is about police brutalizing black people in the streets.
Period.
And then it took only about a month later, it kind of became about everybody. Right. You know, they added the black stripe to the pride flag, and you're seeing people out there, and I'm like, wait a second. You know, shout out to all the LGBT people out there, but I thought this was about police brutality against black Americans. And so you just sort of see this forced intersectionality obscure the message, and before you know it, it's not
what it was supposed to be.
It's not, and that's just what happens because white guilt is so powerful that you have white people who have any type of disadvantage, whether it be gender, income level, but mostly it's gender and orientation. Right. And they say, you know what, I don't want to be the scarecrow that people are throwing eggs at right now. I don't want to be the bad part of the bad white out group during this protest movement. Let me figure out how I can join the side of the oppressor by giving myself something to stand on. So they're almost chasing down oppression to almost put it on their back, as opposed to the actual purpose of liberation, which is to get away from it. So it's very sad. You saw that especially in Portland, where, you know, you had groups actually obviously taking advantage of the social movement.
They ruined Portland downtown for
that's one argument. But then if you look at why did downtown Portland, downtown SF, and downtown Seattle grow the way they did before COVID. It's because all these tech companies were getting tax cuts, so they moved their offices there.
And then they left. They once COVID happened, everyone left.
And they figured out,
they sucked a lot of resources out.
They figured out they could make more money having people work on Zoom
remotely
from home,
yeah.
And they didn't have to pay HR. They didn't have to maintain these office buildings. So you have office buildings like in San Francisco that are 36 stories where only 2 of the floors are being used. The rest are vacant. And landlords don't want to go down on price for these tech apartments they built for the workers that are now living in Idaho or wherever they came from. So now you got homeless people on the streets everywhere in Portland and everywhere else. And then you have these fucking assholes coming out and being like, wow, look at the Democrat policy. And it's like, This is corporate elite fucking bullshit.
Yeah, I think that's like a perfect example of both though. It's like, it's two things can be true at the same time. It's like, yes, these tech cities where all of this massive income and all these people just decided to just be like, deuces.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And then the other side, like in the Bay, it's like, the Bay's crazy. I go to the Bay a lot, it's like,
yeah,
the chances of you getting bipped out there or like, just like you can't like, I mean, we started going a lot in like 2021 because I was shooting a lot of content out there. And even like all the way up until maybe like late last year, it's like, damn, like the Walgreens are gone.
Yeah, it's the bipping is out of control, bro. I was by Lake Merritt in the RV like a year and a half ago. I'm chilling by Lake Merritt, bro. It's a beautiful day, probably 2 p.m. Lake Merritt in downtown Oakland. So I'm chilling right there in the RV, and this valet guy comes up to me and he goes, "Don't park your car here." I go, "Why?" He goes, it's going to get bipped. I go, "No, like I'm going to stay in the car. It's going to be fine." He's like, "Nah, don't even stay in the car." So I'm chilling in the car. I swear to God, I open the door to like, just get some air, walk out for a second. A minivan pulls up, like a soccer mom van. 3 kids in full shiesties jump out of the car with bip tools in hands like a ninja army and start throwing like spark plugs on fucking wire and string into the car. Like it was seriously like a ninja
it's pretty
attack.
Wild. Like my boy Samson, he was pumping gas, about to return his rental outside of the Oakland airport. So he's at the car. He's on the phone pumping gas, and before he knows it, his backpack in his backseat is gone, and he's running after a car that within seconds they got him.
Yeah.
Like the Bay is fucking crazy.
Yeah, and so there's certain shit like that where you that's not just income inequality. That is the cops and they're not doing their job,
right? And that's also like at the end of the day, if there are loopholes that allow you to hit licks, you're gonna take advantage of those loopholes. Yeah, like it is what it is.
And one thing that liberals don't understand is that some fools just like hitting licks. You know what I mean?
Like no matter what happens,
it's not like everyone hitting a lick is like I can't afford food. Some fools love hitting licks. I grew up with people who are rich, middle class, and poor. They listen to Chief Keef all day. They're trying to hit a lick. It's not like they woke up with not being able to put cornflakes in the bowl.
Facts.
And I'm just saying that's something that you can't explain to people because they're like, "What do you mean they like it? You think there's something about them genetically that makes?" I'm like, "No, I didn't fucking say that. I just said fools be hitting licks."
Yes.
And they don't get it. You know what I mean? But we're not going to explain it to them. But if they live in this city for long enough and somebody hits a lick on your shit, you're not going to be like, wow, you know what? Even though they stole my car, I hope they can feed their family. Like, where do you think we're in? Fucking Darfur? This is, I'm just saying.
Would you say, based on your obviously your experience being up in the Northwest and covering Portland and covering the Bay, and I go back to your reference of Amsterdam from The Wire, based on like just your experience and your perspective, because perspective matters, would you say the Amsterdam model is one that is sustainable?
No, and here's why. Specifically, it might be sustainable if it was like a nationwide policy, but you got to think in all the bordering states to Washington and Oregon, Idaho, Montana, even Utah and states like that.
I lived in Boise.
It's illegal to be homeless in a lot of these states. They will put you in jail for your third vagrancy ticket for 90 days. They'll prosecute you. They'll burn your shit. You know what I mean? A lot of people get harassed, and and not only that, but I was in Austin, Texas one time, and I watched the city book 250 Greyhound bus tickets and sending homeless people from 7th Street in downtown to Portland.
What year was that?
that was before all this chaos, 2014.
Oh, shit.
You know what I mean?
Okay,
So
yeah.
this has been happening. So what happens is if Seattle says, you know what, we're going to enact harm reduction policies and open up a needle exchange or something like that for people to not get HIV and Hep C right here, all of a sudden these other counties, not even just different states, are like, okay, perfect. Now I know where to send 100,000 drug addicts.
Yeah.
And so it's impossible to maintain the Amsterdam model when these different states have such different policies.
I wonder, what is your perspective on, because I think what happened in the last 12 months or so was you noticed a lot of minority communities feeling a certain way about, like, let's say in places like Chicago, New York City, like immigration hitting, I mean, obviously Governor Abbott putting people on buses, sending them to New York City, sending them to Chicago, but then kind of seeing like the preferential treatment that someone who came in here illegally might get, whether it's a Visa card loaded with $1,400 and a hotel room and all this stuff. Did you kind of like it felt like there was like kind of a divide
Well, I think it's
between two communities that usually would be, I guess, aligned, if that would make sense?
For me, it's hard to see what's real and true about that, because that particular narrative is perfect for the conservative establishment.
Right.
Like these poor people, working class people, don't like migrants either. I don't know how real that actually is.
Right.
Like if you look at New York City, right, most of the migrants are being held in shelters in Long Island or by the Roosevelt Hotel in Midtown.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they are going to minority communities in the Bronx and in Queens or in the Lower East Side and just opening up these gorgeous migrant skyscrapers where they're giving people
For sure.
dope ass phones.
It's not
and
like
being
they're like, yo, you got a fucking loft in New York.
So I feel like a lot of it is like Jesse Waters going to the hood in the Bronx and being like, I don't know if you saw, young man, but they just got a free phone down there. And
they're like,
and
what?
Someone's like, what the fuck? Fuck that. I don't know if it's actually
How accurate it is, yeah.
Also, it's possible for poor and working class people to also be psyoped by hypnotic media. You know what I mean? Without knowing, because if you're poor and you see somebody getting free shit, that's how they turned the white working class against the black communities in the 80s during affirmative action.
For sure.
So it's a little mini version of that. If you go to a poor person anywhere and you show them a video of someone getting free shit, they're probably going to be biased toward that person.
And then you're able to take that footage, put it on TikTok, and then it spreads like a wildfire.
It's like showing a rich person a video of somebody breaking into a mansion.
Yeah. I think, too, the thing I just saw recently that was going viral on TikTok was like this like idea that like you could get a reward for turning in, and I think they came out and said it's not real, but it was like you mentioned the word psyop. It felt like it was like this fake thing that got thrown out there, and then you would see like these TikToks are like there was one I saw, this black girl being like $1,000 a person. There's 7 that live next door to me. Like it's my address type shit, and it's like again, it's like at the end of the day, man, it's like I think with the immigration issue, there's a lot of things that can be true at the same time.
Yeah.
I think like obviously, man, like there was a lot of people coming over.
I was there, yeah,
which was like not sustainable. It's not sustainable for anybody to take in.
And most importantly, it's not good for them. Like I have a friend from Senegal, or a friend now, and I met him at the border. He had just hopped, right? So he goes to border
in
patrol.
Arizona too, right?
In Arizona, right by Lukeville Crossing, Gringo Pass.
Oh yeah.
So he's telling me
Rocky Point. I go by there.
Yeah, I'm talking to him, and he's excited. He's like, I can't wait to get to America and work. Abbott buses him to New York, and he just got his asylum appointment date, and it's for 2029. So he can't get his work papers.
Until
he can't
then?
get anything. He can't even receive a green card. He can't even be heard by a judge because
So now you're just in limbo for fucking 4 years, 5 years for his
and
case.
the shelter says we can't have space for you. We have more migrants coming in. So he's living on the streets right now, trying to see who will hire him for under the table work and paying him in cash. So he's getting paid $4 an hour because you got deli owners and shit trying to save money, asking him to mop the floor. That's not a life he wanted in the U.S. either.
And and that times however many 100,000 is happening.
Yeah, there should be a clear path to citizenship, which makes this whole situation avoidable.
For sure. And then and that's the thing is like if there is like and I think that it just kind of all got mixed up to where it's like, okay, well, if it's a free for all at the border, then whatever bullshit system's in place for people, like you said, the asylum system, I know the asylum courts is a fucking joke.
Yeah.
it's just not sustainable, dude.
Yeah. Also, asylum policies were a conservative thing. I think the first asylum policy was during Reagan. It was called wet foot, dry foot. And that was to inspire Cubans to flee the island during communism. And they said, if you can get in a boat to Miami, the moment you touch sand or soil, you're an American citizen. So it was supposed to incentivize people to defect from communist regimes that were enemies of the U.S. So Venezuela, that's exactly who we want because that's good for Trump. They're leaving communism. They're coming here for a better capitalist life.
I think that's good for old school Republicans.
Exactly.
I feel like the new shit is different.
And people are exploiting the asylum system. Wherever you stand, left to right, that system is being exploited. Being poor is not an asylum claim. So if you get here, when I was interviewing Mexicans at the border, these are poor people saying, I'm being targeted by the cartel. They're going to kill me. Every single one of them said that.
I also heard like if you say you're LGBTQ, if you're coming from like an area that frowns upon it, they grant you asylum too.
I'm sure that. I mean,
my homie and TJ was telling me that. He's like, he's like, if you just say if you just say you're gay at the border, like,
did your homie try it?
I don't know. No, he comes back and forth. He lives in TJ and works in the U.S.
We tell him, all right, bro, hop the border, act as gay as possible.
Yeah, like yo, come with a boyfriend.
No, by the way, speaking of the border, we were just in El Paso, Juarez a couple days ago.
Wild place. Juarez is crazy.
We were just there, and so that video of like Trump's first wave of deportations, where you see like a bunch of young dudes walking across the border back into Mexico. So speaking of psyops, those people had been held there for like 3 months and were just being processed. And Trump said, don't process them, send them back right now so we can get the good optics.
Good
so they
photo.
had camera crews set up in Juarez from Breitbart, from these conservative outlets being like, the deportations are happening. But those people got apprehended under Biden for having criminal records.
It's just content manipulation, man.
That's what it is, man.
Everyone's fucking playing the TikTok game. That's fucking wild.
Yeah.
Jesus, you based on like your interactions with everybody who were coming over the border, because there's this narrative that there's this massive spike in single Chinese men coming over of military age, and
single Chinese men of military age.
Right.
Imagine being described that way.
No, exactly. but I'm saying, like, and then we're kind of like in this like Cold War with China, and they're sending all these cells over. And
every Chinese person works for the Chinese government.
Apparently, right, yeah, exactly.
There's no poor people in China.
Exactly. Yeah, because if for people who don't know, the extreme poverty in China is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But it was just funny. It's just funny because, like you said, like you could kind of like, whatever side of the road you want to be on politically, like you can kind of find like an echo chamber within that one immigration issue to be like, but at the same time, it's obviously like there is an issue, with that influx of people. Would you say there was like a concerted, because the other thing is people say, by people, I mean the right.
Yeah.
That the border was opened up on purpose to try to import more Democratic voters.
That's my favorite.
Which is fucking an insane.
Well, if that's the case, it didn't work.
Right.
Also, dude, migrants can't vote. They're not citizens.
Right.
They literally can't vote. They can't even, but I don't even need to get into that. The point is, the reason you see so many single men at the border, hopping the border, is because their entire families are back home.
So it's like they come and work and they send money back. I mean, this is a very normal thing.
Why would they take their family? Their family, you want your little kids and your wife to work, she has to take care of the kids.
Yeah, you want your fucking kids walking across the desert in Arizona in the summertime?
Yeah, you can die. Shout out to Humane Borders giving water to those people.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy, man.
But yeah, bro, like of course it's gonna be single men, but like it's been strange. But yeah, the border being wide open was a huge problem.
You went to Colorado, right? During the Venezuelan gang shit.
For Tren de Aragua.
Yes.
TDA.
I just saw...
Taking over the apartments, taxing everybody.
I mean, again, there was a crazy video that went viral. Now,
I know.
It was like red meat.
Yeah, they're like,
during the election.
Guys, I have some really bad news. There's a gang at an apartment building in the hood. Everyone's like, what the fuck is happening? There's a gang in every apartment building.
Right. So what did you, like going there, what did you...
Okay, here's the verdict on Colorado. There was a gang in the apartment building.
Period.
Which caused the landlord to be like, you know what, bro? There's a gang here. He was a slumlord named Zeb from Florida. He owned like 6 different super badly maintained properties.
Right.
So he was like, you know what, bro? There's gangs overrunning this shit. I don't even want to take care of it. I'm abandoning the property. So there was no more landlord services happening, no more plumbing, no more electricity. Just the services were being under-maintained. He was getting sued by the city of Aurora, Colorado. So he hired a crisis PR firm called Red Banyan Communications to basically plant that story about the gang takeover to be like, they beat me up and forced me out of the property. So two things were true at one time. You had
There was a gang
of illegally, of undocumented migrants from Venezuela who were gangbanging, and you had a shitty landlord. I don't understand how people can't see those two things seem to go hand in hand.
Right.
I actually think that's almost always the case. Everywhere you see gangs in the projects, the property is poorly maintained.
For sure.
You ever seen a nice apartment building with a gang in it? It's impossible.
No, that's funny. Yeah, like you said, two things can be true at the same time.
And also, gangs see a shitty maintained spot, and they're like, "I'm gonna go gang."
Did you see the story that came out a couple nights ago? They were like, "Yo, in Colorado, there was a Venezuelan gang house party, and we raided it. Got 40 gang members off the street."
I'm like, first of all, shout out to those guys for being like brave enough to throw a house party.
Yeah.
In the same week Trump gets elected.
For sure.
Obviously not the smartest.
Yeah. Also, dude, what about the 100,000 gang members here in Los Angeles?
Right.
What are we talking about?
Right.
It's so crazy, but conservatives have never met a gang member. So they're like, oh my God, the gang members have arrived. It's like the gang members
They're here.
started here.
Yes.
All the MS-13 started in Koreatown.
People don't realize that MS-13 is a California gang that obviously exported to El Salvador.
Yeah, and our prison system is an incubator for the most powerful gangs in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really crazy when you get people being like, bro, the border's open and now people are gangbanging. But if you show that clip on Fox News and you're in Little Rock, Arkansas, actually Little Rock's pretty hood. Let me use a different example. If you're in Omaha, that's actually pretty hood too.
Boise, Idaho.
Okay, if you're in Boise, Idaho, in the rural outskirts, and you see a video of the border and then people gangbanging right after, you're like, here we go.
Yep. Crazy. Have you ever covered Mormons at all in your...
No, I haven't. But when I first got to Salt Lake City, I went to Temple Square, and they were in plain clothes. And they were like, hey, what's up, man? I thought they were fans. I go, oh, yeah, good to meet you, bro.
No.
I was like, you want a picture? And they were like, a picture? Have you read the word?
Choose
and I
the
was
right.
like, oh, man.
So I grew up in Mesa, which is outside of Phoenix, 20 minutes. And it's a big Mormon population.
Didn't know that.
So I'm very, very intrigued. And then I moved to Boise. I did radio in Boise for a year, which is the third largest Mormon population. It's just such a very, very interesting culture of people.
They're really nice.
They're the nicest people ever.
Yeah.
Their religion is pretty wild.
Yeah.
It is pretty crazy. I would love to see you. If some random Mormon shit pops up, I would love to see you cover.
I mean, I love Salt Lake City. Like, there's this bar they're called Twilight Lounge that I like a lot. You know what I mean? So, and most of the kids who get drunk there every day are from Mormon families, and they just drink and they just like sit there and be like,
oh yeah. Like when I was a kid, like the kids in high school who were like doing like real drugs were all Mormons because they were like revolting.
Yeah, that's why people don't know, but Salt Lake City is like a mini New Orleans when it comes to alcohol consumption, because these kids who defect or they kind of break off from the church, they drink like Amish people on Rumspringa.
Oh man.
You know, they don't play.
I went to Salt Lake once. We went for the day. We went to interview YoungBoy at his house.
Oh, such a good video, bro.
Yeah. Shout out to him, man.
That's one of my favorite interviews.
Shout out to YoungBoy. Free that man. Free him.
I know. All he had to do was not do that.
All he had to do was just not like fake prescriptions.
So you have everything.
Like what? Like when that YoungBoy story came out, I was like, really, bro?
Wait, is it correct that he went to the Walgreens and said, I'm a doctor?
He called. I think it was over the phone. I think he called in over the phone as a fake again, this is all...
Can you imagine YoungBoy trying to sound like not YoungBoy?
No.
Especially to somebody...
Especially hanging out with him, like, super nice guy, you know? But, yeah. You spent some time here in L.A. with Crit Mac, who obviously is incarcerated. Shout out to Crit Mac.
Yeah, for him.
Do you keep in any contact with him at all?
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you know what's going on with his case? Is there any...
I mean, he's just going to do his time. He'll be out next Christmas.
So he'll be out next Christmas. Nice.
Next Christmas.
Yeah, shout out. What is your thoughts on like I guess because I feel like Crit Mac was kind of like the beginning of the commercialization in the podcast space of like gangbanging.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's like it's becoming like a, you know, whether it's Cam Capone, you know, obviously No Jumper Adam, you know, you go on. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like gang politics have now become like real, just YouTube content. Like,
I know, it's a serious content farm. What I've noticed though is like once the lore is kind of oversaturated and figured out, people kind of move on. For example, like the Chiracology wave, like all the GD, BD, O Block, 63rd shit, that had like 4 years of people figuring out everything. And now you've heard every story. Like every FBG Butta interview, I'm like, I know that already.
Right.
I'm not sure how I know that, but like you got dudes like Trap Lore Ross who are breaking down the scientific moment by moment progression of these beefs. And then they figure it out, and it's kind of just like, all right, we understand Chicago.
Yeah, because he did like a 4-hour King Von like documentary that was fucking, I couldn't get through.
He might be the greatest drill documentarian.
I was going to ask you, what are your thoughts on a guy like, because he obviously fancies himself a journalist.
Yeah, he's definitely a journalist.
What are your thoughts on Trap Lore Ross?
I think he's dope. I mean, I think that, last time I went on No Jumper, I was pretty critical about like just the gangbang in space being commercialized in the way that it has been. But at the same time, now that I look back, I think the real person to blame is the record labels. I mean, the people pushing this shit in the first place. You can't blame journalists and podcasters for responding to that demand. It wasn't like they pulled these people out of a hat and were like, I'm curious about King Von. Yeah. No, Atlantic and all these record labels, they decide, okay, we're going to commercialize gang music.
Yeah, I think too, like, it's interesting because a lot of these guys, I always say this because I'm not a big drill fan. Like, it's just never was like my shit,
Yeah.
But I feel like nowadays the kids aren't into, like, you'll see it all the time with, like, let's say, like, pull a name out of a hat, Quando Rondo.
Yeah.
Like, he's known, but, like, he doesn't really have much big music.
No, his interviews are so good, though.
Like, most of these guys are known more, like, people care about it's almost like they're, like the audience is just watching this real life, like, crime series play out.
Yeah.
And they have, like, only have vested in, like, the Julio Fulio, Young and Ace is the perfect example, right? It was like people really didn't, I mean, like, not to say they didn't have some dope, like Fulio had some dope records,
Yeah.
But people were more invested in, like, how's this going to end?
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, yo, let me go support this guy's album that came out.
I know. When Fulio died, like, the next day, that Young and Ace song.
Right.
5 a.m, got a call. Who is this? 100,000 comments. I'm like,
just even the comment, like, just
up.
some of the comments are just so, like, people, like, don't have a heart.
Well, it's even beyond that. They don't see them as human beings. They're
Right.
like superheroes in the drill
Exactly.
sphere. They don't look
Exactly.
at their lives as valuable. I mean, it's depressing, but like, it's not going to end.
It's not going to end.
So it's like, I'm a big proponent and like, don't critique things too heavily that you can't stop.
For sure.
And like, the youth is hypnotized by violence and violent music.
Yeah, I think, you mentioned going on No Jumper. Like, I think Adam is, to me, like, I always tell people when they, because I'm tight with Adam. He's the homie.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, hey, man, Adam's reinvented that fucking platform over and over and over. He's also responsible for some of, like, the greatest hip-hop interviews of all time. If you go back to X and the first Juice WRLD interview and all that shit. For better or worse, from, like, 2016 to 17 to now, like, there was this shift in the SoundCloud era. And, like, that platform was very, very instrumental in that wave. And like you said, there's a demand for that content. So if it's not, and I think Adam does a pretty decent job of, like, if you watch the more long form shit, like having some nuance and context to a lot of those beefs and stuff. But no matter who, like, there's going to be a Cam Capone. There's going to be, what's the homie's name who does the hood documentaries that never shows his face? I've DM'd with him before. Fuck.
DJ Small Eyes?
Nah. He does like
Hood
a lot.
Vlogs?
No, he does
Charlie
a lot.
Bo?
He does a lot of, like, Northern Cali shit.
I haven't seen it before, but Northern California is way more active than here.
Oh, like, Stockton's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Stockton's fucking insane.
The cool thing about how Adam's been able to develop his platform is, like, the SoundCloud era was huge, right? And it took place in LA, obviously, like Melrose and Fairfax, but it wasn't an LA scene.
It was like a Florida thing.
But I mean, like, this was the hub of, like, media for it.
For sure.
And a lot of, like, the rappers lived here.
And, like, once it fizzled out, like, he's still relevant.
He figured it out because he was like, all right, we got to make something out of just, like, LA native rap. And there's some sick rappers from LA. X4,
X4's
R3.
dope. Yeah, X4's
I still listen to Draco every day.
Draco's amazing. Rest
know
in
the
peace.
truth.
Yeah, long live Draco. For you, man, what is like when you put a movie out like Dear Kelly and you're getting a lot of love for it. It's an amazing documentary. I thought, I don't know, what is your team like? How many of you are there?
So there's me, Susan, who's like the senior producer, Tibby and Liam, who work in the office, and now I have 4 editors: Gabe, Wiggy, Ethan, Charlie, and then my homie Drew, who edits from Texas. So I don't know how many people that is in total, but it's a 9-person team. And then I got correspondents like Josue in Mexico City.
I watched this TJ episode.
Yeah, the
Great
homegirl.
job.
Oh, that's the homie Beanie from LA.
Okay, that was a good
Josue did the Mexico City gentrification, and he just did.
I just saw that one.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah,
I saw
yeah.
I saw the Mexico City one. I saw it.
and he's doing a cockfighting episode right now, which is gonna be sick. Which is like a deep in the country of Mexico. And then we have like a correspondent in Israel, one in New Zealand, and then but in general, I would say like then JP, the homie from New York, does the social media clips. So I don't know how big your team is. Is it more or less than 10? 2? Oh shit! There's got to be a third.
There's my boy Erica Rock helps.
Okay,
with the editing. Yeah.
So my team is probably like around your size, like under 20, more than 3.
Damn. Yeah, it's crazy. And the other thing you started to do was dub over your videos in different languages, which I think Mr. Beast was it Mr. Beast who started doing that shit?
I mean, he's the one who made me want to do it. Not that I watched Mr. Beast religiously, but I seen Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast got some fucking heat.
So I just know like he has a town in North Carolina. He has like a YouTube town,
right,
where he has a whole studio there with like different overdub teams from
his
different
fucking
countries.
Prime show is really good.
Oh, really?
Mr. Beast games? It's like real life Squid Games.
You have kids, right?
Yes.
That's why you're watching it.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course, yes. I
was like, there's no way you get off work and you're like, here we go, beep.
No, there was like, it's good though. It's good.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, because you talked about your correspondence. You did a really dope video about, it took place in, you kind of showed both perspectives in terms of what was going on in Lebanon.
Yeah.
And I think you said the video, did they get demonetized?
I mean, that video has been like a nightmare. Like every correspondent who is in that video is now mad at me for some reason.
Wow.
You know, because I had someone in Israel and someone in Lebanon.
Yeah, because you had someone on the Israeli side talking, someone on the Lebanese side talking.
I sent some British guys to interview this Hezbollah dude, and they're mad because I didn't put him in the credits because I forgot to. And like, it's just that piece was a trilateral nightmare.
Damn. But it was good, man.
Thank you. I'm glad you liked it, bro.
Because I feel like it's important, because I feel like, again, there's just there's especially with that situation, it's like, you know, it just sucks, because I'm sure we probably align pretty closely in terms of how we feel about the war that's been happening for over a year.
Definitely.
This bullshit ceasefire that is probably going to result in, I mean, Trump just said he wants to fucking displace the entire country.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
But, you know, for you, like interviewing a Hezbollah member on camera, that's a risk for you.
Yeah. I didn't do it though.
No, I know, but just it's your platform.
Yeah.
So
true.
like telling the side of the Hezbollah
dude, I thought that covering MAGA and Antifa shit opened me up to criticism. Brother, you should have seen when I dropped the Hezbollah interview, dude. People were calling me like a pro-terrorism platform. Like, you know what I mean? I had comments in Hebrew, like wishing death upon me and shit. I was like, they don't play about that Middle East.
Hey, we're about to kick off another interview brought to you by Hardin. That's right. If you're in Vegas, it's the #1 dispensary in the country, the craziest selection of premium cannabis. And all you got to do is shoot them a follow, Hardin_Las Vegas, HardinLasVegas.com. When you're in Vegas, tell them I sent you. Let's get into the interview. Yeah, baby. Shout out to our family at Odd Socks. Ooh, look at the ODB socks right here. All right, look, go to oddsocksofficial.com, Naruto socks. Oh, here's a pair of Bootleg Kev socks. That's me. Yeah. Some ET boys, you know? Anyway, as y'all know, man, Odd Socks, the most comfortable socks in the world. It's all I wear on my feet. It's all I have on my ass, because the underwear are amazing. Give me some of these draws. Let's take a look at some of these underwear we got. We got so many pairs of underwear here. Just draws on top of draws on top of draws on top of draws. What are these? Some Naruto 2XL underwear. I can't fit in those. I'm not going to lie. I'll be swimming in those. But nonetheless, if you go to oddsocksofficial.com, they got all the crazy licenses, man. Whatever you're into, they got it. Scarface, Nickelodeon, Coca-Cola. They got what you need. How about a little Street Fighter, huh? How about a little Office? You like The Office. Who doesn't like The Office? One of the greatest shows of all time. This is one of their newer licenses. They got the Dunder Mifflin boys. Yeah, you know what I mean? So shout out to The Office, Tapatio. I mean, look, it's just endless possibilities over at Odd Socks. Oddsocksofficial.com. Use the promo code BOOTLEG right now, and you will get 20% off at checkout. And happy birthday to Odd Socks. Just celebrated 11 years, baby. Yeah. Congrats to Odd Socks. Let's get back to the interview.
Would you, because I think the other story that I really would like to see somebody really try to tackle in like as is like what's going on in the West Bank.
Yeah.
And the settlers and like there's like it's pretty fucked.
Yeah, those settlers are on some shit. You seen videos of them?
Oh my God.
Yeah, what's wrong with them?
What is wrong with them?
Seriously.
They're like maniac, like what nightmares are made of. Like there's this lady who's just so mean and evil.
Yeah, they're like homeless people with ARs.
They're like homeless people with ARs. Bingo. But like you said, dude, like this shit, it's like almost like there's like this, like you just can't talk about it.
No, well, I mean, you can, but it's just like you're opening yourself up so much. Like, dude.
Because again, with the labels, you're anti-Semitic. Or it's the same thing with like if you disagree with anything on the left, you're a Trumper, you're a Nazi.
It's even worse when you're talking about Israel-Palestine, though, because you get your channel really taken down.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because it's like to see kind of like the MAGA correlation with like Israel.
Yeah.
And then, but then there's like the outliers on the right who are like so far like anti-Israel, like what's the guy's name with the beard, the fucking Dan Bilzerian.
Yeah, that shit's so funny. It's also just been so funny to see like MAGA align with Israel. Because like for 2 years they were like the Jewish cabal of deep state AIPAC elites are
the
trying
Q
to
fucks.
fucking...
Yeah, these Q fucks.
Yeah. And then
and then now they're like
fuck terrorism.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yo, it's hella funny, but yeah, man, I'm definitely not done covering the Middle East, but I'm taking a little breather and trying to figure it out. Next time I'm gonna go out there.
Be careful.
Yeah, I'll be straight.
Yeah, Belly has a line he did in a freestyle where he said, "Hero, villain, it's all perspective," and it's like, yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. What are your thoughts on? Because it's been an interesting first week and a half of President Trump's. What are your thoughts on the first week and a half?
Well, I'll say this, man. If Trump does some good things for the country and the quality of life improves for the average American, I'm not going to go above and beyond to try and make him look bad.
Right.
I'm not this like weird guy who's just like operating on some anti-Trump spite. If things get good, I'll cover that too. So I look at it as like, we have no choice but to just hope for the best. So, I mean, I try to look past the sort of like anti-trans shit and just really think like, okay, is he going to eliminate the extreme poverty and inequality that we have?
Which is always like, that's what the craziest thing is the, the extreme poverty is growing and then just the wealth gap is just getting, it's almost like, the shit that's happening with trying to buy homes in America.
Bro.
The American dream is over.
And the gap of regional understanding is crazy. Like, for example, California is being overtaken by tech transplants and rich people from other places, causing working class Californians to flee to Arizona and Texas. And then they say, don't California my Texas, and they look at them as the problem, when the problem is low-key them moving to California. It's just like this cycle, and BlackRock owns everything, and everything's all bad. But like I said, bro, 2028's that year.
Yeah? I hope so, man. I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's disheartening because it's like, damn, dude, like I can only imagine like if I was like 22, 23 right now, I wouldn't even like the thought of like buying an entry level condo couldn't even cross my mind.
Yeah, I don't own anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Except I own my 2007 Tacoma, the car. But I mean, aside from that, I don't even want to buy a house. If I do buy a house, it's going to be in the country.
Yeah.
Like YoungBoy.
So you were in Phoenix for a while.
I lived in Phoenix for an entire year. I'm going to blow the lid off that. No one knows that. I was on 44th and Camelback living behind the Village. And it's an athletic club.
Great area.
Holding it down. Indian School, Chopper John's, Sip
Arcadia.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Arcadia, Scottsdale cusp.
Yeah, great area.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
So you enjoyed it. Did you enjoy your year?
I love Phoenix, bro. I'm not going to lie. I was a major Tucson Flagstaff guy. And I moved to Phoenix and I said, you know what? I'm going to figure out how to make this place as fun as possible. And I figured out my spots. And I got a lot of love for Phoenix now.
Yeah.
And Phoenix, I always thought it was like the Dallas of the West. It's like a gross, infinite sprawl of nothingness and identical suburban cul-de-sacs. But Phoenix is tight.
No, it is tight for sure. Yeah, I mean, you were in a good area too. Great food around there.
Good food, good vegan food. You know what I mean? The only part I don't like of Phoenix really, and I hate to be negative, is like the downtown Scottsdale area.
Oh yeah, Old Town?
Yeah, it's just not my thing.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why not. It's
You know
very,
what
yeah.
I mean? I know you own a club out there.
I own a
though,
club in Old Town Scottsdale.
which is a good business play.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also the only black club in Scottsdale. So, it's a
Really?
hip hop club. We're booking like fucking whoever you could think of it. We just had Boston Richie Friday. You know?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sick. That's tight. I like Tempe, though.
Yeah,
Tempe's tight.
Tempe's a vibe. Downtown Phoenix is a vibe.
You see they had a candlelight vigil last night in Tempe
For the Goon?
for Nautica Malone.
Oh my God.
Goon in Heaven. Goon too soon?
Dude, this whole fucking guy becoming like the mascot for gooning on Twitter.
It's horrible, bro.
It's so funny. My kids were like, my son is like, yo, Dad, you see they had a gooneral. I'm like,
man.
what?
The full text to me, the dude who organized it, is like, you got to pull up. And I was already here. And I was like, oh, man.
Oh, that would have been fire.
It's all right, though.
Yeah, no, there was like, for people who don't know, there's like, this guy's fucking forever in internet brain rot Hall of Fame. This guy who got caught, my friend owns that place.
Bikini baristas.
Yeah.
Bikini beans.
Yeah, my friend Ben owns that place.
Oh, shit.
So it's funny because he posted the video. He was the first guy to post it, and I just reposted it on my story within seconds. I was like, yo, track this creep down.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, like, I don't know, 2 days later, it was like, that guy killed himself, and I felt kind of bad.
Yeah.
Because I was like, fuck, I shared that video. Fuck.
Was it 2 full days?
I don't even know.
I thought he went straight to a parking lot in Goodyear and just did the deed.
That I don't know. I don't know all the deets. I just know this guy is now, fucking, I didn't even know what gooning was before 2 weeks ago.
You know about the Gilbert Goons, though, right?
Of course.
Freedom?
Have you done anything about the Gilbert Goons?
No, I didn't. I was focused on the border, and I was like, I don't want to hear about this shit. But now looking back, I wish I had an exclusive.
Yeah, the Gilbert Goons, for people who don't know, it's like this, Gilbert is like the nicest area you could possibly live in. It's like one of them. It's a pretty big Mormon area, too. But just these fucking, they killed somebody. They caught a body, right?
Rich kid gangs are scary.
Gangs.
You know, but like, dude, real ones know. Rich high school kid gangs are terrifying. They catch bodies. There was one in Laurel Canyon, the Wonderland gang. You had the 311 boys in Las Vegas. In Seattle, you had a gang called Spruce Mob that would hit licks at every house party. They never caught a body. But these kids, they got nothing to lose. No
they got money. Their parents will buy lawyers.
Charged as juveniles.
Their daddy didn't love them enough, wasn't around enough.
And what are they listening to?
Fucking Chief Keef and fucking NBA YoungBoy. And
so we're not going to blame No Jumper for that.
No. Yo, it's so, oh my God, that's funny, dude. You're obviously a big hip hop fan.
Big time.
Who are your who would you say is like your favorite hip hop artist of all time?
I mean, I grew up in like the Lil B, Chief Keef,
Cooking,
Space Ghost Perp generation. You know, in between Odd Future and Trippie Redd, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. Good. I mean, there's good hip hop in there.
Yeah, that was kind of my era. I mean, now, like, I listen to a lot of LA shit. I listen to a lot of sped up Florida music. Like, I listen to a lot of Jack Boy, obviously Kodak. But you ever heard of 954 Fast Pitch before? Yeah. DJ Frisco, DJ Fetty Fee. I listen to a lot of shit like that.
The crazy shit is I had, me and Denzel Curry homies, and we always like, yo, man, like, first of all, Space Ghost Perp, he don't get enough fucking love for the influence he had. But, like, if Raider Clan and ASAP Mob never beefed, like, there was just so many possibilities that could have played out during that.
And, we remember public school breakfast? When you go and they give you the apple wrapped in plastic and a couple eggs. So when I was in 6th grade, I used to go to public school breakfast, and there was this dude that would sit at the table across from me. His name was Keyshawn. He ended up joining Raider Clan, and he was the only Seattle member. He's a rapper named Key Niata. So we got to meet some of like the OG Raider Clan people at one of his first concerts in Capitol Hill. So I had met like Space Ghost Perp and Denzel Curry and Young Simi when I was like 14.
Crazy.
And I thought about that too. Like if the ASAP Perp thing never happened, which was all about the vocabulary and the vowel replacement with the X's and V's being taken. If that didn't happen, I don't know what would have happened. But Perp is a legend. Lil B also legend. I'm trying to think. I wish I had more for you, but just the whole.
When you're a kid in Seattle, do you just like fucking Macklemore? Let's go.
Well, the thing about Macklemore, and this is why Seattle.
Great guy, by the way.
I fuck with Macklemore.
Great.
This
guy.
is why Seattle is such a hater city, bro. Is because Macklemore was the most respected underground legend.
For a few years. Like, he was like an underground rapper.
Bro, he went to Garfield High School. He's not a suburban cat.
Right.
Macklemore was a certified, respected battle rapper, freestyle rapper from the inner city of Seattle who had the most respect. The moment Thrift Shop comes out and hits 1 billion views, all of a sudden people in Seattle are like, haha, Macklemore, this and that. Instantaneously, hometown hate and jealousy.
Which is crazy because it's like, dude, this guy's such a good guy. Such a good guy.
Shout out to Ben, man. He's from the same neighborhood as me.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he's such a good guy, dude. And he's like, I think it's been just dope to see him like unapologetically take a stand for fucking what's going on in Palestine.
He goes MLK on him.
He does. He said some shit. I forget what he said.
No, he talks like MLK on him. You ever hear fucking Macklemore being like, I'm taking a stand? You know it's up.
Yeah.
He does it once every 5 years, and when he does it, he's not fucking playing.
I remember when he jumped on the Fuck Donald Trump remix.
Oh, shit. Damn, that song, I forgot about
He was
that.
on the Fuck Donald Trump remix. I think it was him and G-Eazy. I think it was YG. Yeah, it was YG, G-Eazy, and Macklemore.
G-Eazy went to the small Catholic college that I went to in New Orleans.
Yeah.
But check it out. When I hear that instrumental from Fuck Donald Trump, it gives me goosebumps because shit was being played during all the riots in Minneapolis.
Oh, yeah,
I can feel the flames from the precinct burning on my face when I hear that instrumental.
Holy shit.
You know what I mean? That one and the beginning of the Fuck the Police instrumental before Boosie starts rapping. Those two songs. You'll never experience life until you're around a burning cop car with those songs playing.
What's next, man? This obviously I know you're going to keep the channel growing and doing big shit, but like, you know, are you going to continue to do documentaries?
Yeah.
Do you think that with the success of this is the goal to like get a deal with Netflix, maybe be able to sell the next one to one of these bigger platforms?
No, I don't want to work with them really. I mean, actually, you know what? I just don't want to be put in a position again to where my future is in the hands of somebody and some people I don't know. So I would definitely work with Netflix in a licensing capacity.
Right.
But I want every movie that I want to drop by myself first on my own websites, and I'm going to go to them with the numbers and say, hey, if you like this, would you like to license it for a year? I won't post it on my platforms. You guys can make as much money off of it as you want, like Master P, that style. Because whenever you're a documentary filmmaker and you go to a streaming platform, HBO, Netflix, Prime, Tubi, whatever, they're going to calculate how much money that they're going to give you based upon a minimum guarantee, which is calculated by your engagement. So if you're in obscurity, if you're a nobody with a dope documentary, they're going to be incentivized to give you a small number.
Right.
But if you're somebody who can say, hey, Dear Kelly did 50,000 streams in the first month, here's how much money we made, here's the reaction, how would you like to go into business together? You license it, do as much as you want with it, then give it back one day so I can die with the IP. That is the best situation. They tell you can't do that.
Has anyone done it before?
No. Because what the platforms say is, I know it's not that much money and I know that we're going to own it. It's not going to be yours, but you're going to be famous. And then that exposure is going to be your gateway into owning your content in the future one day. This is a model that I've thought of. And once I explained it to my agent, he said, yeah, that's possible. And I was like, oh, shit, really? He's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you show, why wouldn't they want it? Because at the end of the day, you have such a niche audience. And if it's something that you've already shown the proof of concept for, like, hey, no, it worked. We have, this is what we did. This is the buzz behind the movie. I mean, why wouldn't they license it? Why not?
A few reasons. But I mean, you know, in general, obviously, I've had some controversy in the past that makes it difficult for them. And secondly, marketing budget.
The controversy that you had, I thought it was, I mean, you don't have to speak on it, but I think just from a perspective of somebody who follows you, and I think I gather what transpired.
Yeah.
I just thought it was very, very Aziz Ansari type situation, in my opinion, where it was like,
yeah.
Are we really trying to cancel this guy?
And what happened behind the scenes is more unbelievable. I've yet to speak on it. But the point is that...
I just felt like, you know, your situation and Aziz's situation was like the personification of cancel culture getting a little fucking out of hand.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? But that's just me. I know, you know, like you said, you haven't spoke about the behind the scenes. I'm sure it's a lot more.
it was basically, without giving too much information out, because it's going to all come out at one time.
Yeah.
It was a lawyer and a group of people, most of whom I didn't know, trying to bait me into a civil settlement to give them a portion of the HBO movie payout. When I didn't play ball with these people, they sent out press releases to the media outlets who basically ran these pieces as a pressure tactic. So I had to, the only way out of that situation really was to kind of like just bite the bullet and move on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they really try to bully you into a payday.
Yeah, but I didn't do it, but I had to deal with, you know, I had to really make a choice.
You had to face it.
Yeah, because if I were to pay the money to these people, then there'd be an NDA and nobody would learn about it. That's what most of the celebrities in the industry do. I was actually advised to do that by some of the people I was working with. They said, you know what? This is a part of becoming famous. You're going to have people who try to get money out of you. The best thing to do is take the L financially and hold on to your career. And I said, you know what? I'm actually not going to take the L financially, because if I pay somebody out for something I didn't do, then what's going to happen 5 years down the line? If I continue to have success and they have that on me, it's going to go up and up and up. And I didn't want to be on that hook.
Yeah.
But the point is, because I haven't really spoke too much about that situation with receipts yet, I still have this issue to where, like even today, People Magazine was supposed to run a feature on me. They had the whole thing written, and then 10 minutes before it's supposed to come out, the editor-in-chief, because of the controversy, decided to nix the story.
These guys are pussies.
But that's the world they live in.
It's so crazy.
So I'd be crazy to pretend like that's not a roadblock to getting my shit on Netflix. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think if there's anything that hopefully, we think about the positives that could happen with fucking orange face being president again, is like a lot of that shit gets eased up. And it sucks too, because you also see like a lot of these fools just bending the knee to Trump and like getting rid of like, shit just to bend the knee to Trump.
Yeah.
But it's like, yo, man, like we got to stop fucking like just getting people out of here for no reason. And it's become like, there's a real economy behind it. Like there's an economy behind, there's commerce behind making us hate each other.
Yeah.
And there's a whole black market, economy behind trying to cancel people or blackmail them legally. You could legally blackmail people.
Yeah, and you asked about the BLM movement too, and I think it's the same thing with the Me Too movement. A lot of things start off with a genuine purpose, but then the tail end becomes an industry that's based upon generating capital.
Yeah, I think the Me Too thing got pretty out of hand quick.
Yeah.
It was like, fucking Harvey Weinstein's a fucking steaming pile of dog shit, and this is something that obviously happens and it should be addressed. But if someone hits on you, that doesn't mean that they sexually assault. It's just like it's shit. Like I don't remember all the details of the Aziz thing, but I think he flirted with someone and it didn't go well, and I think he lost his show on Netflix.
Definitely. I mean, he's yet to return.
Which is crazy because he's like one of the guys.
Yeah. I mean, if you really want to have a mind fuck, the person who leads the Creating Evidence Lab, which is an online workshop that teaches you how to basically extract a confession from somebody, is Harvey Weinstein's defense attorney.
What?
Yeah. So it's like it's like a Black Mirror episode. Like this shit's really full circle.
What is your opinion on a guy like Joe Rogan?
I like him.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I disagree with some of the things he said, but I think that as a podcaster, what he's been able to achieve in some of the conversations that I've seen him have before, I think he does a great job. I mean, especially if you think about like the fact that when he came onto the scene, podcasting wasn't what it was today. And so I almost feel like he kind of paved the way for podcasts to be taken more seriously.
Yeah.
I know he's like an easy person to target. And, I did meet him one time and he wasn't the nicest to me. You know what I mean? But,
I feel like you're going to end up on that show.
I hope so, bro. But at the same time, like.
But then when you go on there,
okay.
when you go on there, they're going to be like. Because now, obviously Joe Rogan's a Nazi, so.
Yeah, right? They're going to be, and...
my whole thing with Rogan is, like, I always just appreciate the fact that, like, he's just... I've learned shit about, like, archaeology on his podcast that I never would have... Or fucking self-sustained farming or just, like, the most random shit.
It's tight.
And when it comes to, like, political shit, like, he'll have... Like, I remember there was, like, a couple years ago, he had, like, one guy who was... pro climate change, and then another guy who was anti climate change, and he interviewed them in back-to-back days, and then got them together to have like a discussion. And I'm like, and it was like 4 hours long.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not getting that on CNN.
You're not going to see shit like that elsewhere. And I think it also speaks to like people's attention span. Even though the social media algorithm would tell you that people have like a short attention span, people are still watching 3.5 hour podcasts.
For sure,
fools are still going to watch this whole podcast and they're going to like it.
What are your thoughts on? You were on the ground for January 6th. You were nearby. You were nearby.
I had COVID.
Oh, you weren't there. Okay. Yeah. So you weren't there. That's right.
I was there for like 3 different pump fakes where they said like, we're going to take the Capitol, and they would get close and be like, not today, guys.
So I want to know your thoughts, because I thought that with the J6ers, I guess, I think that there was probably some people who probably should have been pardoned, who walked into a building. And then I think there were people who deservingly attacked Capitol Police officers.
Yeah.
There was like this blanket pardon where I was like, I don't know if you should have pardoned all of them, like maybe half. Like, because I do think that there was genuinely people. I mean, there was a dude who got arrested who shot his mixtape cover in the Capitol that day.
Whoa.
Like some rapper, just because he was there. And like
That's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like there were people there who just like genuinely like walked in with their phones like, oh, this is crazy. We're in the Capitol.
I
like,
hate to be that guy, but like, dude, the people who should be in jail for January 6th is like Trump, dog. If you really want to start locking people up for that, it's the people who told these masses that the election was stolen and that they had to take their country back.
Yeah,
They're
and my thing too is they
responding to
knew. I
propaganda.
think that Trump knew it wasn't stolen. That's the problem. If
wasn't
Trump truly believed the election was stolen, then okay. But I don't think he truly believed the election was stolen. I think it's just like Rudy Giuliani, by the way, is a fucking piece of shit. God, Jesus, the most cringiest. I feel like out of everybody from the last 8 years, I would just love to see him fucking just eat shit. Fuck Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah, especially because he was like a 9/11 hero and he had to fuck around and do this.
Such a piece of shit, dude.
Yeah, but dog, like honestly, like if you look at some of their prison sentences, some of them were just outrageous.
Outrageous, and like some people, like I think were just being held without a court date all this time, and it's like, well, if this teacher like stumbled into the like, as long there were people who showed up with zip ties and like attacked officers,
that guy should be in jail
for sure. He should never, 100%. What are your thoughts on? Because you have covered the Proud Boys. I know the Proud Boys leader Enrique. What's his last name?
Enrique Tarrio.
He just got pardoned.
Yeah, I mean, I'm close with a lot of people who got pardoned.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably don't like me now because of the HBO documentary. Unfortunately, the way I was made to posture in that film burned a lot of bridges with the conservatives.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They basically made me, they tried to like posture me into this like misinformation watchdog who was like super blue pilled and just existed to like, disparage Trump and expose white nationalism. I'm obviously like, I will do that if that's what's happening.
For sure.
With they made me editorialize it so much to where like I'm saying shit at the end on this director's chair monologue that I didn't have a choice in, where I'm saying like Enrique Tarrio couldn't even stomach the fire that he'd fueled. Just like pussy ass shit like that.
I wonder, because from what I get, one time we were in Vegas, me and my boys, and we just happened to be there the night Trump had a fucking rally, and I think we were staying at Treasure Island or some shit. We're staying somewhere. And we happened to be staying where the Proud Boys were staying.
Yeah.
So I'm playing roulette and I'm like my boy, he's like, hey, I think we're surrounded by Proud Boys.
Mm-hmm. Where they were in Fred Perry's.
They were wearing like polo shirts.
Yeah. Golden.
The yellow.
Gold and black.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit. But like what, like I want to say only one of the dudes at the roulette table with us was actually white.
Yeah.
And would you consider the Proud Boys? I'm not saying that I agree with anything they do because I think they're like more of like a pro masculinity group. Yeah. But would you consider them a white supremacist group?
No.
Because that is the.
Yeah, no, not at all. They're like a nationalist group, like a nationalist drinking club. They're kind of like soccer hooligans. You know what I mean? They just get fucked up together and like they yell about sports and also politics.
Right. Yeah, because I remember, because one of the guys who started the Proud Boys is one of the founders of Vice.
Yeah, Gavin McInnes. I think that he has some white supremacist tendencies.
Yeah, because he would dress like fucking. You would just see that motherfucker.
Oh, he definitely.
He's leaning into that shit.
He definitely fucks with Hitler. But I mean, a lot of them, I feel like they support nationalist governments. But there's also been nationalist governments like Pinochet in Chile. He wasn't white,
right?
But he was still a dictator. There's been plenty of brown fascists.
Yeah, I think what people, there's this, like what we talked a little bit earlier about, like kind of like the intersection of like of Bernie and Trump.
Yeah.
And like, I guess the quote unquote like America First approach.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not necessary. It's not, if Bernie says it is not white supremacy.
Yeah.
But they align even if it's on like 20% of that shit.
I mean, some of the Proud Boys are like urbanized, like trendy people. I remember in 2017, I was at a bar in New York City called Mehenata, which was like this gay bar, and all of the gay Proud Boys had their annual meeting there. So I walk up in there, I saw all these like trendy gay dudes with like earrings and shit, and they're wearing the Fred Perry yellow and black polos and MAGA hats, talking about, you know,
these gay dudes
talking about how, you know, Trump's gonna help the gays out, and because they're like gay people who don't like trans people, so they're just like raging about trans people. So I'm in there, right? I'm kicking it. It was an accident, right? I'm just getting a drink. Like, they don't recognize me, so I'm just chilling. And I go outside, and there's like this black dude chilling out there. I look at him. I'm like, "Are you a gay Proud Boy?" And he was like, "What the fuck? I'm not one of those motherfuckers." And I was like, "Oh, my bad, dog."
Yeah, I just thought that's where I was at.
Joking around. He's like, "You think I'm part of that white supremacist shit? You think I'm gay too?" I was like, "No, dog, I'm just joking." And he was like, "Fuck you, homie." And like went back inside. And that shit was so. I still think about that all the time.
Is there anything are you plotting on trying to maybe cover like any of these pardoned folks to just see what life's like now?
Bro, I'm so
Are you
over.
I know you've said that in the documentary. You're over this shit,
dude. It's not that interesting. That's the thing. Is like, I'm on this platform talking about Dear Kelly because I worked on it for so long, and I think it has some level of like relevance, and so does January 6th. But I've been like in the January 6th media realm for like 4 years. I want to move on to like actually cool shit. Like, I got this project coming out soon about like different sovereignty movements in the U.S. and also like endangered languages in the U.S. like Cajun French, Gullah Geechee, Navajo language, some like Alaskan,
dude,
all types of shit.
I don't know if you've done it yet because you've done so much, but I think there has to be the story of like the reservations across the country.
Yeah, I've done a little bit, but like that was the best thing about living in Arizona,
because there's the Navajo res. Right,
I got
there
super tapped in with the natives.
Yeah,
shout out to my homie Kenneth.
Yeah, shout out to the natives, man, and like it's kind of crazy. Like, you know, there's like a real fucking like if you drive through the res, the houses are they're fucking living on like. It's kind of crazy how a lot of these houses are constructed.
Yeah.
Trailer parks, there's a lot of drug use, there's a lot of alcoholism, and it's like, I just feel like, you know, that's a very interesting story that needs to be told.
Yeah, also the differences between the different reservations in Arizona. Like,
sure.
if you go to Sells, which is in the Tohono O'odham Nation, west of Tucson, that place looks like it's in a third world country. I mean, it is broken down. You go somewhere like Window Rock, which is in the Four Corners area in the Navajo reservation, and you're like, damn, they got their shit together up here.
For sure.
And it shows how the Bureau of Indian Affairs kind of picks and chooses where it gets investment. And so that was the coolest shit about Arizona. Living there is learning about the different reservations, the cultural differences. And I'm actually producing my first ever like fictional TV show with an all native cast from Arizona mostly.
Dope.
It's called Borders. We're still like getting the pilot done, but I play a journalist in it.
Fire.
And it's sick. It's sort of about the Tohono O'odham reservation on the border. So it has to do with the idea of like multiple borders in one state. There's cartel characters. We got Danny Trejo's son, Gilbert,
Sick.
on that bitch. We got hella different shit. I'm excited.
And so you're producing that to pitch it, essentially?
Yeah. I think for a TV show, I'd rather pitch it as opposed to drop it independently.
No,
but
of course.
If nobody wants to take it, I'll post it on Channel 5, and the whole cast will be there at the end in a dark room being like, please pick this up.
That's not a bad idea, man. Is there anything that you have, besides the CHAZ thing, that because of safety or because you just think it wasn't in good taste ended up being something you just decided not to release?
Yeah, after the George Floyd riots, I went back to the Target and the Kmart that got looted the next morning and did like a consumer research study about all the items that didn't get looted. You know, so it was like, this is a message to Target corporate. Like, there's certain items that you have that are so undesirable that even when it's open season, it's going to be left on the racks. And it was like Hanukkah sweaters and like certain game systems that like fools just would not steal.
What game systems would they steal?
I don't know. Well, they wanted the PlayStations and the Xbox, but it was like some of the off-brand VR headsets were just left.
They're like, yeah, we're just going to leave those.
Yeah, and even like Beats by Dre, they had some left right there. And I was like, damn. So I feel like it was important market research. And so it was called What They Didn't Loot. And it was just like a item by item analysis.
That's funny.
But then I sent it to my boss, and he's like, "This is a trespassing charge."
Yeah,
and I was like,
point.
Fuck it.
But, you still keep in contact with Kelly?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you got pretty emotional. Well, I won't say you got emotional in the movie at a certain point. I don't want to spoil the movie, but obviously being around somebody for so long, you guys become friends. You know.
Yeah.
How often do you guys talk? And what does he think about the movie?
He loves the movie.
Yeah.
Which is relatively surprising.
Yeah, because he's not. I think you end up kind of. I watched that movie and I ended up like feeling for the guy.
The movie is not anti-Kelly.
It's not.
It's also not about converting someone to becoming a liberal.
No.
It's just a study of family and the intersection of politics between generations with an American family that's sort of splintered by it. Yeah, he likes it. Definitely, like, I was hoping, and I'm still hoping, that there's kind of a breakthrough that happens after he sees it. You know, I like to think that the movie maybe is the missing piece in all of this. But he's seen it several times. He came to 2 different tour dates on the Channel 5 tour last summer. And then he also came to the premiere in Huntington Beach 2.5 weeks ago. And each time he was kind of like, hell yeah, like, sick. So it's a bit confusing.
I thought what I actually loved about was he left you a voicemail when you were going through your shit.
Yeah.
And you played that voicemail, and it was like, damn, like, this dude, he's a good dude.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a bad guy. Like,
and he's capable of giving really good advice when it matters.
Yeah, and like he's obviously a smart guy, because you don't become a lawyer and not be. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't fucking idiots that are lawyers, but it's like this guy had like when you were showing some of his like family footage with like all the animals they owned and shit. I was like, damn, this dude really had the American dream like fucking figured out for real.
And that's kind of one of the subtexts of the film too, is like he did achieve the American dream. And what the American dream is on paper is literally shifting classes, being able to go from a working class,
because he grew up in like a
trailer park.
Yeah.
And boom, dude, imagine that 20 years later, after hard work and dedication, you go to Pepperdine for law and you're in Laguna Hills living like Zoe 101. And then boom, all of a sudden it goes away and the American dream breaks in front of your eyes. And especially if you're conditioned by the Reagan era with that like hyper positivity, bootstraps mentality, that is like, it might as well be the fabric of space-time warping when that happens.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, man. It's such a good movie, dude. People, and you know, you can rent it for $5.
$5.55.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everyone should check it out. I feel like, especially if you're like a fucking hardcore lefty.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, a lot of hardcore lefties, they want to pretend like these people don't exist,
or they're not like people. Like they're not like, hey, like just be like, yes, they're crazy, they're holding the signs and they're screaming at you outside. But what is like? That's a person at the end of the day with a backstory,
a huge backstory, and in a way, this movie is kind of for them. To say, hey, if you do want a revolution, if you want a progressive future, you have to figure out how to incorporate the millions and millions of people like Kelly who have valid economic grievances, who were hypnotized by political media and are now working for the enemy as they see it.
Right.
You can't just have a utopian future without figuring out a path to stability and mental strength and solitude for these people. Not solitude, mental, like whatever the word is, like a. You know what I mean? Like,
no, for sure.
Mental health services, but you know, not every Trump supporter is like a head case. I'm just saying.
No, for sure. No. I think that's the other thing too, man. Is I just think like what you do is you add context and nuance to just so many divisive issues, and I feel like, you know, if somebody watched like, you know, any of your coverage that you've had over the years, bro, it's like, yo, we're all in the gray area and we act like it's black or white.
Yeah, I think there's more people in that zone than you like to think.
So would you do a podcast?
I'm thinking about it, bro. I'm thinking about it. But the thing that scares me about a podcast is like, you look at dudes like Steve-O who have had crazy lives, but they've done 1 million podcasts. At some point, you've told every story and the lore kind of goes away. At least for somebody like me that has a sort of like in-field mystique to myself.
That's fair. Yeah, no, that's fair. I think you're not overexposed personally.
Right. I don't want to tell people, and I'm also like, I'm kind of smart, but I'm more of a listener than a talker. Like, you've been in the radio, like you know what you're doing. Not saying I'm a bad podcaster, but I don't know if I have a take for everything.
Yeah, and I do feel like what you do is like a version of, I mean, it's all content, right? Podcasts of content, a vlog is content, a mini documentary is content. Like, so I think what you do, man, is I think unless you think you doing a podcast will add to like the overall like mission of journalism, then, you know, just double down on the shit you're doing.
Yeah, one thing that I would do is like a hybrid between, I guess, Channel 5 and Soft White Underbelly. I want to get an ambulance, buy an ambulance and kind of gut the back and turn it into a mobile studio where I can talk to just like random people. Not just people
like, yo,
I'm
gonna pull up the fucking, I'm gonna pull up wherever. Sweet.
Yeah, right.
Skid Row, it could be fucking,
the
White Lives Matter in Huntington Beach, it could be anything.
So I would do a podcast with like random people.
Yeah.
And sometimes famous people, but not just famous people.
Right.
You know, because famous people.
Well, you're the only person I think that's interviewed Yeet.
Actually, Complex got him, which was very unfortunate, but they didn't do it like I did.
Yeah, but I feel like, did you have like the first interview with Yeet?
Yeah. Well, actually, Our Generation Music got him before, but I had
way early. They were pretty early. Yeah.
I had the first post blow up interview.
Yeah,
6 million years.
I can't wait for him because I feel like Yeat's a pretty interesting guy. I heard he owns a ton of guns. He's from fucking Portland.
Yeah, Yeat's awesome.
Like he's like I want to know more about him, but he's so fucking mysterious. Like you know what I mean?
Right. And so like I want to be somewhere in between that and Steve-O.
And Steve-O shit's cool.
I'm not hating on Steve-O.
Yeah, it's cool.
I'm just saying everyone knows every story now almost.
For
He's
sure.
done 1,000 podcasts.
Is there anything, man, for you that you just want to kind of like, okay, let's say you had to kind of, 20 years from now, man, what would you say you would want your legacy to be, man?
Hey, man, just never fold. It's basically it. Never fold. I hope I hope we're still fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the war in Gaza, obviously.
No, but
just the war.
Message to myself: in 20 years, I hope that we're still on top. We're still doing our shit. I hope we never compromise. I hope we never sell out. I hope we never let somebody control us. I hope we never let a bureaucratic corporate media establishment own a single % in Channel 5. And I hope that the media establishment is dead and gone.
I think it's happening.
Yeah.
I think slowly but surely, and I think it has to, man. I just feel like CNN and all these fucks, they're all full of shit, bro.
They are full of shit. But the problem is, who's maybe more full of shit? Clickbait, reactionary podcasters.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the thing is you're taking one swamp and you're kind of starting anew.
And it's a bigger swamp that the entry level is 0.
And you can literally
anybody
just
can
lie,
turn
bro.
a camera on. No, for sure. It's fucking crazy. It's
like,
crazy.
CNN has to get caught in a lie. You know what I'm saying?
I think they've been caught in a few. I don't understand why Rogan never sued them for they made his skin yellow, and that whole ivermectin thing was just crazy.
They made his skin yellow when they put him on TV?
Yes. They
Wow,
made him
like
look
he's in
sick.
Mexico.
No, they made him look like he was sick when he did his it was fucking crazy.
Damn, bro, that's whack.
Yeah, no,
They did that for real?
Yes.
That's unbelievable. But
It is insane. Yeah. And I'm like, he always said, he was like, I could sue him, but this is not worth it. I'm like, yeah, you could sue the fuck out of him.
Sue somebody for putting a tint on you?
Because they were trying to make I think the whole angle of the story was he was sick.
He's getting jaundice from ivermectin.
Yeah.
Like that's the vibe, right? Like
Yeah.
his skin is turning yellow, like he's going in septic shock.
I guess so, man. But yeah, I think, man, you're doing good work, bro. Keep it up. And, I look forward to seeing you guys expand with the different correspondents you have all over the world. Any areas you're looking? I would love to see like somebody maybe in Africa, like covering some of that shit out there.
I had a homegirl in the Democratic Republic of Congo that wanted.
I would say
do
Congo
something.
specifically, yeah.
But our policy is if you're going to cover something, you have to be from that area at least.
No, what I'm saying. I mean, that's the thing, though. It's also dangerous. Like, covering those fucking mines in Congo are crazy.
Yeah, well, if you're an African person who wants to work for Channel 5,
Tap in.
And you're not scared, my email is andrew@channel5.news.
There it is. My guy, I appreciate you coming through. Go get the movie, dearkelly.com.
www.dearkellyfilm.com. $5.55 rental.
It is amazing. Buy it for $15.
If you want to.
Yeah,
Don't have to.
support. You got to support. This guy's got lawyer fees.
Support me. I need new ties. Shout out to Popeye.
Shout out to Popeye, man. Hey,
You know who loves this tie?
Kelly?
Lefty Gunplay. Interview coming soon.
Oh, you interviewed Lefty?
Yeah.
How off the shits was he at the time?
He was doing
He's a
good.
good friend of mine.
He was doing good.
Yeah, I know he's
love
doing
Lefty.
better. Oh, he's the best.
Yeah.
He might be the most. Listen, I don't want to compare him to Crip Mac because he would hate that. But since Crip Mac, I'm not sure we've had a more entertaining personality hit these internets.
Agreed. Shout out to Lefty. Shout out to Bootleg Kev. Shout out to Phoenix. Shout out to Kelly. Shout out to Bill Joyner. Hope you drop the
Bill Joyner, drop the fucking suit, bruh. Boom. My guy. Appreciate you, brother. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
man.